out of service. A little farther south near 21A, there's right lane construction. There's a crash on the southbound northway at exit 4. It's an accident on the shoulder, really no impact on traffic northbound, an 11-minute travel time from I-90 to Clifton Park. From the WGY Price Chopper Market 32 Traffic Center, I'm Mike Barker.
This is an American Red Cross blood donation alert. We are currently facing a severe blood shortage. Healthy blood and platelet donors are asked to make an appointment to give now. Donating blood is safe and can help save lives. Please schedule an appointment by calling 1-800-RED-CROSS today.
WGY AccuWeather forecast. For tonight, partly cloudy, low 35. Then for the day on Thursday, mix of sun and clouds, breezy. Thursday afternoon, high 51. Get breaking news, traffic, and weather at the top and bottom of the hour on News Radio 810 and 103.1 WGY.
Tomorrow with Chuck and Kelly.
Stopping New Yorkers at the Florida border, is it legal? And how about losing your job because you wore a surgical mask to work?
Our legal analyst at 7:45.
Chuck and Kelly, mornings 5:30 to 9 on WGY.
If you're tired of the big media blaming President Trump for the coronavirus, you can do something about it. Now, Newsmax, one of the best news channels in America, is conducting a national poll asking you what you think about President Trump's handling of the crisis. We urge you to vote in Newsmax's poll. It's easy. Just text the word virus to 39747. That's virus to 39747. Newsmax will share the poll results with the media, Congress, and the White House. It takes just a minute, so text virus to 39747 from your phone. President Trump is under serious attack. Show your support for him today. And don't forget to watch Newsmax TV. It's America's fastest growing cable news channel. Available on DirecTV, Dish, Xfinity, Spectrum, Fios, Uverse, Optimum, Cox, Suddenlink, and many more. Check your cable guide. So watch Newsmax TV today. And don't forget to vote for President Trump. Just text virus to 39747 now.
Hi, Rick Edelman here. Join me this Saturday for the answers to all your questions on investments, taxes, planning for retirement, mortgages, getting your kids into college, and more. It's the Rick Edelman Show every Saturday at 10 on News Radio 810 WGY.
Did you know there's a long line of middlemen who are collecting a significant portion of what you pay for medicine? Insurers, PBMs, and others got nearly 50% of what Americans spent on brand medicines in 2018, and their share is increasing every year. Let's fix the system the right way and ensure more of the savings go to you, not middlemen. Learn more at letstalkaboutcostny.com, because you don't know the half of it. Paid for by Pharma.
WGY on the iHeartRadio app, powered by Quick Response Restoration. If your business or home is affected by coronavirus, contact Quick Response today to learn more about their disinfection services.
Sean, if you want to be a part of the program. You know, one of the main things, so they were putting out worst case scenario between 220,000 potential deaths in the United States. That's scary. But what they don't talk about in the media is that the potential without the travel ban, without the quarantines, and the extended travel bans, and the mitigation, and the 15 days now extended to April 30th, the number would have been more like 2.2 million. Now, would somebody say, well, Donald Trump made a good call there? Anyone at the fake news New York Times? No. I've got a montage that I'm going to play when we get back, because the mob and the media, I don't want anybody to die. Said that too early in this process. I want a cure for cancer, heart disease. I want cars that are safer. Great technology.
Cashless tolling constructors.
That's who pays you your check.
Yeah. All right.
It's 3:30 at News Radio 810 and 103.1 WGY. I'm Diane Donato. Local hospital begins taking COVID-19 patients from downstate. Your top stories in 1 minute, but first, traffic and weather. This report is sponsored by the Ad Council.
A minor crash still being cleared from the southbound Northway at exit number 4, Wolf Road, everything off to the shoulder. Really no impact at all in traffic. Northbound, you're in good shape from Colony right up into Saratoga Springs. I-90, a good ride in both directions from East Greenbush right over to Schenectady. That's an 18-minute travel time on the I-90 thruway combination. From the WGY Price Chopper Market 32 Traffic Center, I'm Mike Barker.
This is an American Red Cross blood donation alert. We are currently facing a severe blood shortage. Healthy blood and platelet donors are asked to make an appointment to give now. Donating blood is safe and can help save lives. Please schedule an appointment by calling 1-800-RED-CROSS today.
WGY AccuWeather forecast, partly cloudy tonight, the low 35. Tomorrow, some sun gives way to clouds. It'll be breezy, the high 54, and Friday, mostly cloudy and the high 52. 52 degrees currently with some sun. News Radio 810 and 103.1 WGY. Our top story, Albany Med announced today they accepted 14 patients that were transferred late last night from downstate hospitals. The patients who tested positive for COVID-19 or have suspected cases. At a briefing this afternoon, Governor Cuomo said the transfer was previously negotiated between the two hospitals and detailed what the plan is going forward.
You fill all the downstate hospitals and you're over capacity on all the downstate hospitals. You then have Javits Center as a relief valve. You have that ship, the Comfort, as a relief valve. You try to transfer to Long Island. If Long Island is at capacity, then you move upstate. It's a pure capacity issue.
The state's number of positive cases increased by 7,900 since yesterday, bringing the total number of cases in the state to nearly 84,000. The head of the CDC says there may be a second wave of coronavirus this year. Dr. Robert Redfield gave an interview to an NPR station in Atlanta and said there may be another wave of infections after the virus peaks in April or May. Redfield said the CDC is preparing for a second wave, most likely in late fall or early winter. The captain of a Navy aircraft carrier is calling for help after over 100 sailors contracted coronavirus. The USS Theodore Roosevelt, with 5,000 on board, is currently near Guam, which doesn't have the space needed to quarantine that many people. Within the past hour, word that Governor Cuomo and legislative leaders have reached a conceptual agreement on a new state budget. Times Union reporting that the budget is likely to be much smaller than the $178 billion fiscal blueprint that was proposed in January. But the newspaper is also reporting that the budget will include some policy proposals that the governor wants done. Medicaid reform, bail reform, and the legalization of marijuana are a number of hot-button issues that legislators have been looking at. It's unclear yet which, if any, of those are being addressed in the final budget. For more news, listen to The Daily Dive. The big news stories explained, not shouted. Listen to The Daily Dive each day on the iHeartRadio app or wherever you get your favorite podcasts. WGY News Time 3:34. Our next news update at 4. I'm Diane Donato. The Sean Hannity Show continues in less than 3 minutes on News Radio 810 and 103.1 WGY. Capital Region's breaking news, traffic, and weather station.
Hey, it's Chuck and Kelly. Save now and play later with our online auction now through Friday at 1 p.m.
One student leader is Ian Walter, a senior majoring in electrical and computer engineering.
Here's where the printers are.
Walter was dedicating most of his time to his senior capstone project, developing a satellite to be launched into low Earth orbit. Now he has turned his attention to printing face shields in his parents' living room.
It feels really nice to be able to ideally be creating stuff and actually helping the medical professionals who are kind of in the front line.
Walter says they are engineers, not medical professionals, so they are relying on approved schematics to make sure they meet hospital standards.
The National Institute of Health, NIH, actually set up a page for 3D printers or makers to submit designs for personal protective equipment, and they'll go through and actually test them and say whether or not it's, this is suitable for like real medical use in the United States.
Walter made 5 prototype masks as of Monday, but now that the design is approved, he expects to print hundreds in the coming weeks. There are now 3 3D printers, all provided by UAlbany, in Walter's home. Walter says he may be one of the first students to print the face shields from home, but he won't be the last.
Hopefully, these won't be the only 3D printers in the process. We'll have more more people's houses, and have it be kind of a whole community effort of everyone doing whatever we can to help the people who are trying to get us through this very strange time.
Walter says being able to help during a national crisis is why he majored in engineering.
It's a way of thinking, right? A way of problem solving that not necessarily every other field uses. And I love it. And the problem solving that people have been showing with designing these masks and, you know, working together as a community, that's what engineering is all about.
Professors Lazinski and Muckle say with campuses deserted, students feel powerless. Walter worries that someone he loves will get the virus. He says if that happens, engineering the face shields is all he can do.
That's the most direct. Like, I can do something about that to help prevent that situation by making these and getting them into the hands of the people who desperately need them.
UAlbany is donating all protective face shields to Albany Medical Center and is fielding requests from emergency responders as well. More information about how to get involved and pictures of the 3D printing process are at WAMC.org. Reporting from Albany, I'm Jackie Orchard, WAMC News.
Support comes from the Button Box, Sunderland, Massachusetts, makers of our horse concertinas, also selling new and used concertinas and accordions, and providing repairs and accessories, buttonbox.com. Amigos Cantina announcing a temporary closure, supporting the community but will be back, wishing good health and gratitude to patrons of 12 years in historic Schuylerville, amigoscantina.net. And Fulton County Tourism in the Southern Adirondack Park, information on Fulton County events at 44lakes.com. Fulton County, I love New York. As the pandemic continues, local officials are working to help residents through the pause in daily activities. WAMC's Capital Region Bureau Chief Dave Lucas reports.
Local businesses and local economies are taking a tremendous hit. In Albany, Mayor Kathy Sheehan has been easing some rules and regulations to help restaurants that remain open for takeout stay afloat.
What we've done is to create more parking and make curbside pickup safer for the restaurants, employees, and customers. We've lifted the time limit parking restrictions across the city, and we've also created designated curbside pickup parking. So we've created some signage, it's easy to see, and you can see where you can safely pull in and pick up from places that are still offering takeout. And I do want to make sure that our restaurants know that if they want these takeout signs and they want to be included in this program, they can just contact us. They can email me at mayor@albanyn.gov. They can call City Hall at 434-5105, and we can help them get that signage. And if you go on the city website, we do have a list of all of the restaurants in the city that are still open for pickup.
Albany Common Councilor Richard Conte says the panel has begun conducting remote meetings after Governor Cuomo allowed such open meetings to be done over webcam for now.
We're using different types of technology, teleconferencing and video conferencing, and we've already had one special meeting with council, which we held on March 26th, and we convened that meeting using teleconferencing technology, Zoom, which I guess is the platform most used. And we had all 15 members online.
Conte says the next regular meeting set for April 6 will be live streamed on Facebook. The public can comment using a form on the city website. Albany's Center for Law and Justice has been around for 35 years. Executive Director Alice Green says the community expects it to be there. So this is no time to be idle.
People still have crises that they need to deal with. So we want to make sure that they can get a hold of us. Our staff is small. So what we've done is closed our center for this week, and we have posted on the door where they can get a hold of us. We've also on the internet indicating where they can go to get services. We have information, and we keep up to date on what's happening throughout the area regarding social services.
Green says the center's advocacy work is also continuing. Across the river, Rensselaer County Executive Steve McLaughlin is working on getting the Troy Farmers Market open again, minus the crafts, so distance can be kept between vendors and people.
We're making some good headway. We've offered up our our parking lot here at the county building as a temporary space on the weekend. We're happy to do that. We think we have a good entry and exit type strategy and can keep folks separated. Thankfully, the weather is starting, is kind of broken, although you wouldn't know it from the 6 inches of snow we got the other day, but we're definitely in the upswing weather-wise, so we're working well through the city. We want to get it open.
Dave Lucas, WAMC News.
The cities of Saratoga Springs and Schenectady are taking action to discourage large gatherings in a time of social distancing. WAMC's Southern Adirondack Bureau Chief Lucas Willard reports. Officials from Saratoga Springs and Saratoga Hospital gathered outside City Hall Tuesday to update the public on city operations, as the spa city remains in a state of emergency during the COVID-19 outbreak. Public Safety Commissioner Robin Dalton, who was leading the city's response along with Mayor Meg Kelly, urged residents to observe social distancing guidelines.
Because it's so critical for us to slow down the rate of infection so that we're not overwhelming our first responders and they can handle the flow of patients coming in.
The officials said Saratoga Spa State Park is as busy as it's ever been, as people looking to get some fresh air walk the park's trails. The New York State Department of Environmental Conservation and New York State Parks have closed indoor spaces and outdoor recreation areas. Dalton said, however, that social distancing must be observed. She said there have been complaints about groups at the city's basketball courts. Dalton said the city could impose fines up to $250 on people not adhering to social distancing guidelines.
We really want this to be an educational moment and not a punitive moment. So, if we see people who are gathering or playing sports, we will warn them. If we see them doing it again, then we will likely issue a fine or a ticket. And then if we notice that there are places in different neighborhoods where these activities are happening repeatedly, we will shut them down as needed.
Dalton said Saratoga Springs is experiencing community spread, meaning individuals are contracting COVID-19 without knowing where or from whom they contracted it. Last Friday, the city of Schenectady closed its playground equipment and basketball courts, though city parks will remain open. Here's Mayor Gary McCarthy.
We want people to go out in the parks, to walk, to run, to be able to go outside, get some fresh air, but at the same time, they have to be cognizant of the risk when you're getting too close to people.
However, McCarthy said he has not decided to impose fines on those gathering in close groups.
I'm not looking to have people cited or arrested. We want people to, again, use common sense and be compliant. And they just have to understand that this is serious. And if we all work together, we're going to get through it quicker with less adverse impact on the community.
Schenectady County has experienced more than 80 cases of COVID-19. Saratoga County more than 100. Both counties have reported deaths associated with the virus. For WAMC News, I'm Lucas Willard. Support comes from Bard College at Simon's Rock, where students start college after the 10th or 11th grade, now accepting applications for fall 2020, simons-rock.edu/apply. And Paradise Copies, Northampton, Massachusetts, providing printing design for customers for over 20 years. From digital to offset, color copies, scans, logos, and more, ParadiseCopies.com. Now, meteorologist Garrett Argianis with the WAMC Regional Forecast.
The weather has been pretty nice on this first day of April across eastern New York and western New England. We've seen a blend of clouds and sunshine, and temperatures are running pretty close to seasonable levels. It has been a little bit breezy at times, though it hasn't been super windy, and I expect no weather problems over the next few hours. On the weather map today, there is a storm out over the ocean. It's well to our south. It's located east of North Carolina and south of Cape Cod, so it's nowhere near us. The storm is going to track to the northeast into the Gulf of Maine by tomorrow, and it's going to back up a bit and move closer to the New England coast, and that means it's going to come close enough to us to bring some unsettled weather. I'm not expecting anything too stormy around here, but there is wind will pick up as well. I'm not expecting the wind to be a serious concern around here, though it is going to be quite gusty, especially across southeastern New England where wind advisories may be needed. So looking ahead to tonight, we'll see a blend of clouds and stars. Temperatures will be largely in the low 30s, so it's chilly but not really cold for this time of year. And then for tomorrow, we'll see clouds thicken up through the day, especially tomorrow afternoon. Now, one thing that I'm noticing with this particular system is as the rain comes in, temperatures are going to chill down. So while I'm calling for highs in the 40s tomorrow, as the rain starts, you'll notice a cooler feel for sure. And across the have some off and on rain on Friday. It'll be with temperatures largely in the 50s. And now here is my latest regional forecast. First for the North Country, the Adirondacks, all of Vermont, the southern Champlain Valley, including Plattsburgh and Burlington, and the Lake George-Saratoga region, including Glens Falls. For tonight, variably cloudy and cool, with lows in the upper 20s to lower 30s. And for tomorrow, mostly cloudy, rain developing, possibly mixing with snow in the high elevations, windy with highs in the 40s. For the northern Catskills, Mohawk Valley, and southern Adirondacks, including Utica, Gloversville, and Oneonta. For tonight, variably cloudy and cool, lows in the upper 20s to lower 30s. And for tomorrow, mostly cloudy, a chance of showers late, windy with highs in the 40s. For the southeastern Catskills, mid and lower Hudson Valley, and interior southern New England, including Middletown, Poughkeepsie, Westchester, Hartford, and Springfield. For tonight, partly cloudy and cool, lows in the 30s. Tomorrow, mostly cloudy with some rain late, possibly mixing with snow in the high elevations, windy with highs in the 40s. For the Capital District, including Albany, Schenectady, and Troy, and the Berkshires, tonight partly cloudy and cool, a low of 30 to 35. Tomorrow, mostly cloudy with rain late, possibly mixing with snow in the high elevations, windy with highs in the 40s. Region-wide on Friday, mostly cloudy with off and on showers, windy, highs in the 40s, and on Saturday, partly sunny with highs in the 50s. For WAMC, I'm meteorologist Garrett Argianis.
Support comes from George Propane, Goshen, Massachusetts, family owned and operated for over 75 years, serving Western Massachusetts with propane and full-service heating and plumbing installation, services, and deliveries at georgepropane.com. State Street Fruit Store, Deli, Wine, and Spirits, downtown Northampton, a locally owned, community-minded grocery and specialty food store since 1922. Wine tastings, statestreetfruit.com. Dr. Harut Marjan in Stuyvesant Plaza, Albany, New York, a chiropractor serving the community since 1989, 518-489-4984. And College Street Motors, Amherst, Massachusetts, for over 30 years, specializing in foreign and domestic car and truck repair and 24-hour towing, full-service gas and goods, checking of fluids, tire pressure, and window washing, collegestreetmotors.com. Their seasons on hold, NCAA athletes are being granted an extra year of eligibility. Our sports commentator is Dr. Keith Strudler of Montclair State University.
If there's one word to sum up where we are right now, and assuming it's a word I'm allowed to say on the air, that word would most likely be uncertain. Like it's uncertain when this thing might end, or when we can go to a supermarket without wearing a hazmat suit. Or it's uncertain how many people might die and what that number even means. And uncertain whether you'll still have a job a month from now, or if your 7th grader is actually doing his math. These are but a few of the uncertainties that keep everyone awake all night, which is when I'm assuming they're booking all the grocery delivery times at Whole Foods. But I digress. So a small group of college seniors just added more uncertainty to what's already an unsettling period. That group is college athletes who play a spring sport, which includes baseball, softball, lacrosse, outdoor track and field, crew, golf, and beach volleyball. None of these sports were able to play their 2020 seasons, which may seem like a relatively small asterisk in the larger footnote of American higher education. That said, for all the athletes who spent the entire year preparing for their competitive seasons, it literally ended before it began, which is different than winter sports like hockey and basketball that had their endings cut short, including, of course, March Madness, which for the record would hold the Final Four this weekend. And contrary to much of the rest of higher education, a track and field season can't be rescheduled on a Zoom call. Although when I was in college, Cornell held a fact swim meet with Princeton, which says something about how old I am. To try and make the best of a bad situation, the NCAA has just announced that it would extend an extra year of eligibility to student athletes who play these spring sports. Meaning, if you're a graduating senior that plays softball, you can return for another year of college sports, and this year doesn't count against the 4 you're allowed to play in college. Which technically means that all the athletes who've lost their senior year of, say, lacrosse can come back and do it again next spring. And let's leave aside any worst-case scenarios about quarantines a full year from now. Of course, the devil is always in the details. For example, Division I universities can keep fifth-year seniors on scholarship without it counting against the NCAA-mandated maximum. But how many schools can even afford that right now, especially given the budget crises engrossing pretty much every American university? And how many students will want to hang around for another year of school and pay for most of it as well, when they could graduate with their peers and get on with life, just so they can play another season? And remember, there's no real guarantees in sports, which means you could stick around and then tear an Achilles and the whole thing's over anyway. So the risk-reward ratio is pretty severe. Then again, who knows what kind of job market graduates are about to jump into anyway. So maybe an extra year of schooling isn't the worst thing. Regardless, the entire discussion, one that might seem fairly trivial to those who don't play college sports, is a reminder of the deep personal meaning of being a college athlete. In the end, I'm guessing relatively few athletes will stick around for another season unless they already had plans on a graduate degree. But I do know that seniors who are leaving without their last chance at the camaraderie of competition are feeling a very severe sense of loss. I know this because I felt it the day after my last spring track meet in college, and that was after a normal full season. I didn't just feel like competition was ending. I still ran races after college. I felt like I was losing a family, one that spent hours together every day for 4 years, going through a lot of pain so we might accomplish something collectively. That's what these seniors are losing. And they're losing it in a moment when pretty much everything else secure is falling apart at the same time. The most important part about being on a college team isn't about winning, or at least it shouldn't be. It's about all the things that happen in the pursuit of that quest. And that's why the NCAA is making this rule change, even if probably few people take up the offer. Of course, that's just an educated guess, because right now, it's hard to be certain about anything.
Keith Strudler is director of the School of Communication and Media at Montclair State University. The views expressed by WAMC's commentators are solely those of the authors and do not necessarily reflect the views of WAMC or its management. On Wall Street, just before the closing bell, the Dow was down 936 to 20,980, the NASDAQ down at 44. Support for the Academic Minute on WAMC comes from New York State Association of Independent Schools, representing independent schools since 1940. Lewis Subaru, Hadley, Massachusetts, a new and used Subaru dealer. Subaru.com.
A better way to rid waterways of harmful PCBs could be on the way. I'm Dr. Lynn Pasquarella, President of the Association of American Colleges and Universities. And today on the Academic Minute, Upal Ghosh, Professor in the Department of Chemical, Biochemical, and Environmental Engineering at the University of Maryland, Baltimore County, discusses this breakthrough.
PCBs, or polychlorinated biphenyls, are flame retardant chemicals that were used widely in transformers and other industrial processes. Scientists have established that a natural process called microbial dechlorination can break down PCBs. However, PCBs continue to persist in the environment. Why? For a long time, scientists didn't really know. As a result, ironically, the Hudson River site where microbial dechlorination was first documented by scientists nearly 30 years ago had to be cleaned up by relocating sediments to a landfill at a cost of $1 billion. However, our recent work helps make it possible to rid waterways of dangerous PCBs more effectively and at a much lower cost. We used a novel sampling technique to measure for the first time the microbial dechlorination rate of PCBs at low water concentrations. and we demonstrated that it's possible to predict the rate of dechlorination in sediments. We showed that low dissolved concentrations of PCBs within sediments is the main bottleneck for growth of the organisms that break down PCBs. This new understanding allowed us to translate the technology to the field. We engineered around the growth bottleneck by adding large numbers of these organisms, which had been grown in the lab, to sediments in the field. In our recent pilot-scale and full-scale field projects, we are demonstrating the feasibility of using this technique to clean up PCB-contaminated sites. Coming nearly 30 years after the discovery of microbial dechlorination of PCBs, these recent innovations in science and engineering could finally enable us to remove these persistent and dangerous compounds from the environment.
That was Upal Ghosh of the University of Maryland, Baltimore County. You can find this, other segments, and more information about the professors at academicminute.org.
Production support for the Academic Minute comes from AAC and U, advancing liberal learning and research for the public good.
Support comes from Bard College Master of Arts in Teaching program, offering one-year master's degrees with teacher certification, accepting applications through April 15th. Teaching What Matters at bard.edu/mat/ny. And the Spotty Dog Books in Ale Hudson, an independent bookstore with 12 beers on tap in a historic firehouse, art supplies for all skill levels, trivia night, music, and other events, thespottydog.com. A reminder that if you missed a story on air or you want to learn more, you can check out our news coverage at WAMC.org or via the WAMC News podcast, which you can download and subscribe to wherever you get your podcasts. Final check of the forecast, partly cloudy tonight, lows in the low 30s, some morning sun tomorrow, followed by increasing clouds and the chance of showers by the end of the day, especially in eastern New York and New England, highs in the low 50s. Cloudy tomorrow night with a chance of rain, lows around 40, and cloudy on Friday with a chance of rain early in the day, highs near 50. Thanks to our engineer, Zach Malloy. Thanks to Ian Pickus and Jackie Orchard in the newsroom. This has been WAMC's Northeast Report. I'm Jim Lavoulas. Stay tuned now for All Things Considered.
WAMC FM HD 90.3 Albany, WRUN HD 90.3 Remsen Utica, WAMK HD 90.9 Kingston, WOSR HD 91.7 Middletown, WCEL HD 91.9 Plattsburgh, WCAN HD 93.3 Canajoharie, WANC HD 103.9 Ticonderoga, WAMQ HD 105.1 Great Barrington, WWES HD 88.9 Mount Kisco, WANZ HD 90.1 Stanford, WANR 88.5 Brewster, and WAMC AM 1400 Albany.
I want every American to be prepared for the hard days that lie ahead. We're going to go through a very tough 2 weeks.
The U.S. death toll surges forward, and Florida's governor joins other states in telling residents, stay home.
Today is Wednesday, April 1st, and this is All Things Considered from NPR News.
I'm Mary Louise Kelly.
And I'm Elsa Chang. This hour, we interview the top Democrat in the Senate as Congress and the White House weigh another giant rescue package. This one focused on infrastructure.
Also, a reality check on ventilators. Doctors say the breathing machines can only do so much.
It's concerning to see how many patients who require ventilation do not make it out of the hospital, how many of them die.
And we check in with small businesses as first day of the month bills are due.
2008, we just dialed it back and finished in the black. This is so unknown because we literally turned off the switch.
News.
Live from
From NPR News in Washington, I'm Lakshmi Singh. The federal government's rethinking its policy on face masks in public. NPR's Alison Aubrey reports the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention is studying whether people should be encouraged to wear face coverings when out and about.
The current CDC guidance is that the only people who need to wear a mask are those who are sick or those who are caring for someone who is. But as the virus has continued to spread, experts say it's clear that people who are asymptomatic or have only mild symptoms can infect other people. Former FDA Commissioner Scott Gottlieb says face masks offer an additional layer of protection beyond the steps people are already taking.
So if you're a person who has the coronavirus and you have a mask on, you're going to be far less likely to transmit the infections.
Given shortages of masks, he says the CDC should offer guidance to people on how to make their own. Alison Aubrey, NPR News.
The re-examination comes at a critical time for the country, where, according to Johns Hopkins University researchers, more than 200,000 people have been infected and nearly 4,500 have died. The Trump administration is projecting the next couple of weeks will be the toughest yet. In that time, COVID-19 could claim at least 100,000 lives, and that's provided that every state and U.S. territory gets on board with the social distancing guidelines that, in some spots, is showing signs of working. In New York, the epicenter of the U.S. outbreak, Governor Andrew Cuomo updated the public on how his state is doing so far.
Cuomo said the outbreak is pushing the limits of hospital capacity, medical staff, equipment, and first responders. He ordered New York City to close public playgrounds, saying that younger people continue to gather there, putting others at risk. Cuomo said he expects cases to peak sometime in late April, but that following social distancing orders could bring the number of deaths down drastically.
This is beyond best efforts. This is beyond I'm working very hard. We have to get this done. We have to succeed. We have to find a way. We have to make it happen because too much is at stake.
Cuomo once again asked the federal government to step in to produce and distribute life-saving equipment. Quill Lawrence, NPR News.
Governor Cuomo has been urging other states to adopt stricter measures taken by his state, California, Washington State, Maryland, and others. Well, Florida is now ordering stay-at-home measures. Governor Ron DeSantis also addressed concerns about 2 cruise ships with sick and dead passengers trying to dock in his state. He says Floridians on board will be accepted, but negotiations are still underway on how to accommodate 4 nationals, citing limited medical resources.
We just want to get to a point where the resources can be used for the folks here, particularly in southern Florida, where we have most of our problems with COVID-19, and not divert those elsewhere.
Florida currently has 6,700 confirmed coronavirus cases. We're listening to NPR News.
NPR stations. Other contributors include Focus Features, presenting Never, Rarely, Sometimes, Always. When a teenage girl faces a life-changing event, she and her cousin embark on a journey of friendship and bravery. At Home on Demand tomorrow.
An incentive for carbon capture. I'm Randy Simon, and this is Earthwise, a look at our changing environment. Convincing industries to reduce their carbon dioxide emissions has not been easy. Many approaches have been debated, including carbon taxes, carbon tax and trade schemes, and passing a giant Green New Deal. Most economists agree that putting a price on carbon is likely to be the most effective approach. But there is already in place an adjustment to the U.S. tax code that is more of a carrot than a stick. It is a tax credit that is designed to make capturing CO2 a financial winner for a number of high-emitting industries. The credit, called 45Q, was enacted in February 2018. The 45Q credit earns industrial manufacturers $50 per metric ton of CO2 stored permanently, or $35 per ton if the CO2 is put to use. An earlier credit for capturing carbon dioxide was limited to only $20 per metric ton and was capped at 75 million tons. Some large fossil fuel companies did make use of the earlier credit. The new version does not have a cap, but to qualify, companies need to start constructing carbon capture facilities within 7 years and have 12 years to claim their money. Companies with emission-intensive operations are busy figuring out how to take advantage of the credit. These include cement makers, steam power plants, corn ethanol producers, and ammonia plants. The credit mandates that companies start constructing their carbon capture facilities within 7 years, most companies will tend to rely on mature technologies. But the tax credit should also drive demand for next-generation carbon capture technologies, of which there are many under development. Saving lots of money in taxes is likely to lure U.S. companies to capture carbon dioxide. Earthwise is a production of WAMC Northeast Public Radio.
Support comes from the CIO, a federation of 3,000 unions, fighting for working people by keeping New York State Union strong. Union strong online.
It's All Things Considered. It is Kelly in Washington.
And I'm Elsa Chang in Culver City, California. Former FDA head Scott Gottlieb issued this warning to Americans last month, March 8th.
The next 2 weeks are really going to change the complexion in this country. We'll get through this, but it's going to be a hard period. We're looking at 2 months, probably, of difficulty.
As has become painfully clear, Gottlieb was right that the complexion of daily life in America has changed dramatically.
Tens of thousands of people have been sickened by the coronavirus. Millions have lost their jobs, and doctors and governors are warning about American hospitals at a breaking point.
Last night in the White House briefing room, President Trump warned about another critical 2-week period.
I want every American to be prepared for the hard days that lie ahead. We're going to go through a very tough 2 weeks.
The president, flanked there by his public health advisors, Dr. Deborah Birx and Dr. Anthony Fauci, said 100,000 to 200,000 Americans could die from the coronavirus, and that is the best case scenario. So how will America's leaders help Americans navigate this period and beyond? Well, let's bring in one of those leaders, Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer, Democrat of New York. Senator Schumer, welcome.
Good afternoon, Mary Louise.
I know you are joining us on the line from your home in Brooklyn. Would you start there? What does it like to be in New York right now, the epicenter, as it were?
Well, it's eerie because the streets are empty. I've only seen 4 people since I got back from Washington a week ago Wednesday. I got in my car at midnight. I'm trying to get out of Washington, get home quick. Yeah. Got home at 4:30, and I've seen 4 people, my wife, my daughter, and son-in-law, because their apartment's small. They're living with us, and my 1.5-year-old grandson. I'm on for 2 hours a day, and chasing him around is as exhausting as anything.
You're getting your exercise in there. So
yeah, exactly.
You doing the whole social distancing, like not shaking hands, all that?
Yes, I do go out for a walk, and my doctor said just stay 6 feet away from anyone. I'd probably make it 12 feet. So I'm walking the street a lot of the time, and I hope people don't think I'm upset with them when they see people I know, and I just cross the street rather quickly.
It's remarkable.
But the isolation from New York is particularly confounding because we're people who like to be together. After 9/11, we hugged each other and clung to each other. We ride the subways, and we're in close contact with people of every different background and every different type. And here we are, we're isolated. We don't know how long this is going to last. We know we're the epicenter. But there are a few things that, I'm on the phone almost 24/7. Today I asked the president to give us 100% of the FEMA aid. He said he'd look at it. I'm calling on the president also to have a czar for distribution of these hospital, of the supplies we need, the PPEs and the masks and the ventilators. They have appointed someone under this Defense Production Act, which is the act that allowed during the Truman administration the government to take over factories and produce. And they're starting to do that, but they're not distributing them. So our mayor had to call Sweden to try and get ventilators. The governor had a call to someone in California and said, well, we're sending them overseas. The president should appoint probably a general who's an expert at quartermastering, getting supplies from one place to the other, to take over the supplying and giving the places that need the ventilators and the masks the preference instead of everybody just catch as catch can. I think the one other thing I've asked for is that the federal government today, I asked the president to pay hazard pay to all of those on the front lines. These nurses, these doctors, healthcare workers. They're risking their lives. I'm sure when they walk to work or take the subway to work, they still have to get there. They're wondering, will I catch this virus? But they're like the firefighters and police officers and construction workers were heroes of 9/11. These are our heroes today, and they should get hazard pay. The federal government should give every federal worker hazard pay, and I think in the next COVID bill, we should require it for everyone.
Let me shift you, Senator, to the news of the day and the possibility of a fourth rescue package. Speaker Pelosi's been talking about this all week. Over in the Senate, though, Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell says, hey, it's way too early to talk about another package. We haven't even got the programs we funded in the one we signed last week up and running. Where do you land on that?
I think they're both right. We should right away. We passed a huge package. We Democrats played the major role in shaping it. The Republican bill did not help average folks and social plan. And so getting those unemployment checks, the federal government under our unemployment on steroids has said that we will pay every worker their full salary for 4 months. And the company doesn't have to fire them. They can furlough them, stay on the payroll. So when, God willing, this crisis is over, these companies, restaurants, manufacturing places can reassemble, having not lost their workers because they're getting pay and getting furloughed. Well, we need those unemployment checks to be out in 2 weeks. And I've asked the president to make sure that happens.
The president
immediately.
Yeah, the president is calling in this next package for another $2 trillion. Do we have another $2 trillion? I mean, it's $2 trillion here, $2 trillion there. Can we afford this with already a giant deficit?
Look, I think we will do a COVID-4. We have to. And there are certain things we must do. And we need to lay out how, and we may have to lay out how Congress is going to vote if we can't. Because, the Senate, they have to fly the House from all over the country. I think we have to do things with paid leave, paid sick leave, paid family leave. As for an infrastructure package, when you start looking down the road and you say, how do we get our economy going and how deep is the hit to our economy, there is no better thing than infrastructure. But I think that the first job is to beat this healthcare crisis and deal with people who have their immediate problems. And I would not at all be adverse to an infrastructure package. I want it to be quite green, looking at the future as well as the traditional infrastructure.
It does prompt the question of how infrastructure work will be done when much of the country is on lockdown.
Exactly. So it's a longer range view of getting the economy back. But job number one, get those materials to our hospitals and to our healthcare workers. Get the unemployment checks out to people who need it. Make sure that $1,000 payment. I talked to the president today and I said, not the president, Mnuchin, rather, I'm getting all these jumbled into each other. Yeah, make sure that people who don't have, who haven't paid taxes or don't have some kind of job pay, or everyone on Social Security should get one of these checks.
And just in the moments we have left, Senator, can Congress do anything about that, about getting those checks to people who need to pay their bills, need to pay rent?
I think we did a very good job, not perfect.
Just briefly.
You need a COVID-4 quickly on laying out what has to happen. Now it's up to the administration to get it done, but we have to watch them like a hawk because this administration is not good at administering.
Senator, thank you.
Nice to talk to you, Mary Louise.
Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer talking to us there from his home in Brooklyn.
The coronavirus has brought a lot of attention to breathing machines and on-bed devices that are life-saving for some critically ill patients. But as NPR's John Hamilton reports, they're no panacea.
The intensive care units at Barnes Jewish Hospital in St. Louis are filling up with coronavirus patients. And Dr. Tiffany Osborne has been caring for many of those who've been placed on ventilators to keep them alive.
It's very concerning to see how many patients who require ventilation do not make it out of the hospital, how many of them die.
Osborne is a critical care specialist at Washington University School of Medicine. She says doctors in China and Europe and elsewhere in the U.S. are reporting death rates from about 50% to more than 80%.
We're not sure how much help ventilators are going to be. They may help keep somebody alive in the short term. I'm not sure if it's going to help keep someone alive in the long term.
Patients end up on a ventilator when their lungs can no longer deliver enough oxygen to keep the body going. Osborne says it's an extreme measure.
We give sedation so that the person goes to sleep, and then we provide a paralytic that stops their breathing.
Next, they insert a long plastic tube through the trachea and vocal cords. That allows a machine to deliver puffs of highly oxygenated air to the lungs.
The ventilator itself can do damage to the lung tissue based on how much pressure is required to help oxygen get processed by the lungs.
And Osborne says coronavirus patients often need dangerously high levels of both pressure and oxygen because their lungs have so much inflammation. Also, ventilators create a path for a wide range of infections to reach the lungs. Dr. Megan Hajizadeh is a pulmonary critical care doctor at Hofstra Northwell School of Medicine in New York. She says ventilators work really well for patients with common forms of pneumonia.
We treat patients for several days, and then we get the antibiotics into the body, and the patient recovers. Unfortunately, with this COVID-associated pneumonia, there are no treatments that we know work for sure.
So Hajizadeh, who spoke to me from just outside of an intensive care unit, says ventilators are of limited value.
We have had several patients between the hospitals across the Northwell Health System that have come off of the breathing machine, but the vast majority are unable to.
Hajizadeh says one reason is that the coronavirus often does a lot more lung damage than, say, the flu.
There is fluid and other toxic chemicals, cytokines we call them, raging throughout the lung tissue.
She says in some patients the damage is so bad that even ventilation won't help. So they've tried an even more extreme measure called ECMO, which delivers oxygen directly to a patient's bloodstream.
Remember, ECMO, too, is a life-supporting treatment, so it's a bridge while we are allowing the lung to heal itself from a pneumonia.
If it can. Dr. Tiffany Osborne says that what doctors are learning about severe coronavirus infections should make it crystal clear why we all need to take steps to keep the virus from spreading.
I know that at times it gets frustrating, but it's really important, not just for yourself and your family, but for the other people that you care about, to shelter in place until this is over.
Osborne should know when she's not at the hospital, she's living in a camper to avoid putting her family at risk. John Hamilton, NPR News.
And you're listening to All Things Considered from NPR News.
Support comes from Thomas Broccoli, financial advisor with RBC Wealth Management, providing comprehensive wealth, portfolio management, retirement planning, and personalized financial solutions to individuals and businesses. TomBroccoliRBC.com. And Inquiring Minds Bookstore, New Paltz and Saugerties, announcing the opening of the Vinyl Vault, buying, selling, and consignments, specializing in jazz and classic rock. InquiringBooks.com. This is WAMC Regional News. I'm Jim Lavulis. The number of coronavirus deaths in New York has more than doubled in 72 hours to more than 1,900. Governor Andrew Cuomo said today that projections show the outbreak worsening through the month. The governor said he would close New York City playgrounds to slow the spread of the virus, leaving green spaces open. Albany Medical Center says 14 patients who have confirmed or suspected cases of COVID-19 have been transferred to the hospital from facilities downstate. The hospital says the patients arrived late Tuesday. Governor Cuomo was asked about the relocation during his midday press conference today.
Were there patients who were moved, coronavirus patients moved from New York City to Albany Med? Yes. And we've talked about this is one state, this is one family of New York, this is one family of the United States of America, by the way. We support one another.
And Governor Cuomo also announced a conceptual budget deal this afternoon. Cuomo and his budget director say the deal relies on short-term borrowing and nearly 7% in cuts.
We have a conceptual agreement with the leaders on the budget. They are going to go to their members today and talk to them about the agreement. And if the leaders are successful in their conferences, then we will pass the budget.
Support for NPR comes from this station and from ProQuest, whose ProQuest One Literature is a single destination for literary research, teaching, and learning, with a focus on diversity. proquest.com/go/NPR. From the Kresge Foundation, expanding opportunities in America's cities through grant making and social investing. More at kresge.org. And from the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation at rwjf.org.
From NPR News, this is All Things Considered. I'm Elsa Chang.
And I'm Mary Louise Kelly. President Trump says his administration is aggressively prosecuting cases of fraud related to the coronavirus.
Very simply, we will not allow anyone to exploit the suffering of American citizens for their own profit.
One scam the government has been warning against is fake testing for COVID-19. NPR has been investigating a company that was selling tests, and our reporting has gotten the attention of law enforcement and members of Congress. NPR's Tom Dreisbach reports.
Max Loves lives in Los Angeles, where he's an employment lawyer. His mom, Peggy, has Alzheimer's, is on hospice care, and he wanted to visit her at home just outside of LA on her 84th birthday, the end of March.
She's not in a condition where I can FaceTime with her and have her even be responsive at all. The ability to put your hand on someone's shoulder right now in her condition is really meaningful.
But he wanted to be absolutely sure he did not have COVID-19 before visiting.
I just felt like it wouldn't be responsible to be around her without having some level of confidence that I'm not contagious.
Then, on March 20th, he got a message forwarded from a friend. The subject line, instant COVID-19 test now available, FDA approved. The price for a kit was only $49.95. All you had to do was go to stopcorona28.com. So he bought one. I spoke to other friends of his who bought test kits too. One was pregnant and worried about her exposure. Another had bad chest pain and was concerned she was infected. Sloves says almost immediately after he clicked purchase, he started to worry it might be a scam. And in fact, scams are always a problem in a public health emergency. Here's Patty Zettler. She's a former Associate General Counsel for the FDA and a law professor at The Ohio State University.
Whenever we have diseases that lack good treatments, we tend to see companies come out of the woodwork and try to capitalize on people's hopes and fears.
Federal prosecutors recently went to court, and in Los Angeles, City Attorney Mike Fewer has been warning about scams involving fake tests.
Now, the FDA hasn't authorized any test that people can buy and use at home to test themselves. Anybody trying to sell us one is a scammer.
Of course, the message Max Sloves and his friends got promised just that. A quick, at-home COVID-19 test that was approved. President of Marketing, David Saltrelli, by phone in Florida. Saltrelli said the tests were made in Hong Kong. He wouldn't get any more specific than that. And he insisted they had been vetted.
Obviously, you got to make sure the accuracy of the test. You just can't, just pull a test out of nowhere.
Then I asked Saltrelli about what the FDA itself says. The FDA on its website currently says, quote, at this time, the FDA has not authorized any test that is available to purchase for testing yourself at home.
Just make sure they look at your testing so they don't endorse, is what I'm trying to say. Right, I understand why you're doing that, yeah. So that's, we're even showing on the site, if you can see that, right to the FDA U.S. Food and Drug. It says what happened.
The FDA would not comment to me on any individual company, but they confirmed again and again that they still have not given any company approval for at-home testing. Saltrelli told me he would follow up with more information, but that never happened. After we sent questions over several days, the Wellness Matrix Group stopped selling tests. The website now claims they never intended to sell at-home test kits and says they'll offer full refunds. I asked the LA City Attorney Mike Fewer about this company, and in response, he said his office sent them a cease and desist letter. Members of Congress and the House Oversight Committee also sent questions. Max Sloves, the guy who tried to buy a test kit so he could visit his sick mother, says he and his friends never got the kits in the mail. They've tried to dispute the charges on their credit cards, but he says this is about more than the money.
To think that someone would prey upon people's known anxieties and fears in a moment just so fraught with uncertainty and panic, it's so repulsive.
In the end, he was not able to visit his mother on her birthday, and he's not sure when he'll see her next. Tom Dreisbach, NPR News, Los Angeles.
Just like many people, small business owners often send a lot of money out of the door on the first of the month for rent, for insurance, for payroll. As NPR's Daniel Kurtzleben reports, today was a lot more stressful than usual.
Mary D'Amato has been in retail for 40 years, and she's never seen anything like this economic crisis.
With the 2008, we just dialed it back. I reduced all my costs, and we still got through it and finished in the black. This is so unknown because we just turned off the spigot. We literally turned off the switch.
D'Amato runs a furniture business called Mattress Mary's and has 3 stores in New Mexico and Colorado. She closed all of them 2 weeks ago, and with the first of the month approaching, she had to inform creditors that she wouldn't be able to pay on time.
I've done everything we can do. Calling all our vendors, calling all our creditors, right down to Blue Cross Blue Shield.
Plenty of small businesses have been making similar calls. New laws will also help some owners like Ken Berry. He owns an acupuncture pain clinic in Sacramento and spoke to NPR via Skype.
I'm in a lucky spot right now here in the city of Sacramento. The city council here just last week passed an ordinance that is a business eviction moratorium.
Small businesses often have less financial padding than their bigger counterparts. Barry says he likes to keep a 2-month buffer.
But due to some other circumstances, I already had a slow month in February and had to tap into that. So even though I was gearing up to prepare for those rainy days, this one hit a lot faster than I expected.
Small businesses could suffer greatly during this crisis. Michael Roth is managing partner at Next Street, which works with local governments on small business policy. He says without assistance and with businesses on continued lockdown, many would close.
We project that 25% of small businesses will be out of business within 30 days. 50%, more than 50%, will be out of business within 90 days.
But again, that's without assistance. On Friday, a $350 billion small business loan program created in the recent economic relief bill will start up. D'Amato says she plans on applying for a loan. For now, she says her creditors are being understanding and that Mattress Mary's is hanging on for another month.
So all my creditors, from my insurance company to health insurance to vendors to landlords, have at least given us some deferments at least till the end of April.
And that makes a lot of sense to her.
They realize if I go under, how hard is it going to be for them to rent the space? So yeah, they kind of need to defer because, as my mom used to say, you cannot squeeze blood from a turnip.
Danielle Kurtzleben, NPR News.
This is NPR News.
Inside warehouses and processing plants, in delivery trucks and behind the register, Americans are working low-paying jobs that are absolutely vital in this pandemic.
My customers told me yesterday, you're more important than a lawyer right now. No one needs a lawyer. Everyone needs to come to the grocery store.
How are those workers protected? Tomorrow, Morning Edition from NPR News.
5 a.m. tomorrow on WAMC, support comes from the family birthplace at Fairview Hospital in Great Barrington, Massachusetts, offering a collaborative obstetrician-nurse midwifery model of childbirth in a holistic, medically supported environment. BerkshireHealthSystems.org/family birthplace at Fairview. And the Daily Grind, Albany, New York, a proud underwriter of WAMC, roasting and serving coffee for over 40 years, dailygrind.com. Regional news after this news from NPR.
It's All Things Considered from NPR News. I'm Elsa Chang.
And I'm Mary Louise Kelly. Coming up, a comic artist born in Wuhan shares what she loves about the city that so many people now associate with the coronavirus.
Let me share the beauty that I look forward to seeing during the trip of us poor people, everyone else here, and seeing that the change in area for people. News. Live from NPR News in Washington, I'm Winter Johnston. Congressional Democrats say they're trying to fast track a new coronavirus relief package. While Capitol today, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi said lawmakers are in
are currently the epicenter, we need to know that. So we are pushing hard. That's why we wrote the letter with the delegation, and hopefully he will respond.
Gillibrand says if the money isn't distributed properly, she will call for an investigation. Berkshire Medical Center's Chief Medical Officer and Chief Quality Officer is offering tips for shopping during the COVID-19 pandemic. WAMC's Josh Landy says more.
Dr. James Lederer spoke on a telephone town hall with Democratic Congressman Richard Neal on He ranked wearing a mask below those precautions, noting masks don't offer complete protection against infection. Josh Landy's WAMC News.
And a mistrial has been declared in the quadruple murder trial of James White of Schenectady, who is accused of killing 2 adults and 2 children in the Lansing intersection of Troy in December 2017. The Albany Times Union reports a Rensselaer County judge appears to have declared the mistrial due to illness and the absence of some jurors amid the pandemic. In the low 30s. For WAMC News, I'm Jim Willis.
Support for NPR comes from this station and from Marcus by Goldman Sachs, committed to helping make money work hard. CDs and more products at Marcus.com. You can money. From PayBucksBound in support of the David Gilkey and Zabiula Tamana Memorial Fund, established to strengthen NPR's commitment to training and protecting journalists in high-risk environments. And from the John S. and James L. Knight Foundation, helping NPR advance journalistic excellence in the digital age. It's All Things Considered from NPR News. I'm Mary Westerly in Washington.
And I'm Elsa Chang in Culver City, California. The coronavirus is overwhelming more places than just big cities. It's devastating rural Blaine County, Idaho. A community where a local hospital has just 25 beds. And like everywhere else in the country, people in Blaine County are pitching in to help. NPR's Hannah Alone spoke with one controversial figure involved in the relief effort there. His name is Eric Parker. He leads one of the biggest militias in the western U.S. and he's trying to create a do-it-yourself FEMA in Idaho. Hannah Alone is here with us now. Hi, Hannah.
Hi there.
So what is it exactly that Eric Parker is doing?
Sure, he's trying to build an independent pipeline of goods and supplies in case the crisis gets worse. And Parker says Hurricane Katrina and other disasters have taught Americans that they shouldn't be putting all their faith in FEMA. So he and others are at this warehouse in western Idaho. They're using it as a staging ground and mobilizing volunteers to basically build their own relief network. I reached Parker in a remote part of the state and it was a poor connection, but here is some of what he had to say about it.
As a state,
So basically, the message Parker is trying to send is Idaho can take care of itself.
Idaho can take care of itself. Is that the ideological aim of his militia?
So Parker's president of called the Real 3% of Idaho, and broadly speaking, we're talking about a militia that's aligned with this broader movement of self-described constitutional conservatives. And yes, they want to curb federal powers. Typically, all these factions get lumped together under one umbrella label, anti-government extremists. But in reality, there are a lot of differences and some nuance among them. And in this world, Eric Parker is a star. Just a few years ago, he faced federal trials related to an armed standoff with the government of Nevada. Prosecutors in court painted him as a domestic terrorist, but he beat the most serious charges, and today he's part of this effort to kind of mainstream the militia movement. His group is registered as a nonprofit corporation. He's running for state senate as a Republican, and now he's trying to show that his group is also ready to step in and play a role in disaster relief as well.
You mentioned he's running for state senate. How does all of these other efforts play into his political ambitions?
Well, Parker does live in Blaine County. He didn't have access to testing, but like much of the county, his family was sick for weeks with symptoms consistent with COVID-19. They're still getting over it. a national conversation about stockpiling food and supplies, a national conversation about whether stay-at-home orders violate the Constitution and where exactly that line is between public health measures and civil liberties.
I saw that last week Idaho's Governor Greg Little, who's a Republican, issued a stay-at-home order. What does Parker make of that?
Well, Parker says he gets it. It's an unusual crisis. It requires an unusual response. At the same time, this is where it gets thorny for some positioning of both Parker and constitutional watchdog. So he says the governor's order is justifiable, but what does enforcement look like? Is it a citation? Is it people getting hauled off to jail? And here's what he said about that.
It's very important that we realize that the constitutional violation is the law that we do not escalate violence or stupid or the other like that. So this is a legal issue.
That is NPR's Hannah Allen.
Thank you, Hannah. Thank you.
Some 125,000 retirees call the Villages. It's a sprawling community just northwest of Orlando. Like much of Florida, they were not quite there to heed the CDC's recommendations for social distancing to slow the spread of the coronavirus. Now they are, say residents Ian and Helena Stone. They moved to the Villages 15 years ago.
Well, right now, it's probably the safest place to be because we're following safe practices.
Well, to hear how the Stones and some villages are coping in this era of coronavirus, we are joined by Mita Menti, editor of Villages News. That is an independent paper that covers the community. Welcome.
Welcome, thank you.
And so, I know just today the governor of Florida, Ron DeSantis, issued a stay-at-home order for the whole state. That's going to take effect at midnight Thursday, so I know that will likely change things just up until now. But take us through today. What's the day-to-day life in the Villages changed? Are they still out there dancing?
Well, it's changing quite a bit over time because things keep tightening up and people are having less and less to do. This is a community where people, it's fun and frivolity and eat, drink, and be merry, and slowly everything's chipped away from that. They can't go to the squares. The last thing they can do is they can play golf and pickleball, but the swimming pools are closed, the dog parks are closed, and there's less and less to do every day. When Ron DeSantis, the governor, came out at 1 o'clock today and announced this shelter-at-home order, the million-dollar question now is how does that impact me today? So we're waiting on some information from some of our local officials to rule on that, and it's a million-dollar question. As of an hour ago, everybody's in the grocery store buying more supplies.
Let me ask how people are doing from a health perspective. The population there skews older. Almost 80% of the people who live in the Villages are over 65, according to the Census Bureau. Do we know how many people have been tested for COVID-19?
We've had some independent testing going on by UF Health, which is with the University of Florida. They've tested 2,280 people so far. 23 have tested positive. Grasping a number of the villages is a little bit more difficult because it covers 3 different counties. Right now we have 43 villagers who have tested positive for COVID-19, and we anticipate that there will be more.
I saw also they have managed to set up drive-through testing for residents.
Yes, that was the UF Health, and people here, if you've ever been to the Villages, it's a golf cart community, so they were able to drive through with their golf carts as tested, so it's kind of a unique situation here.
So as you talk to people who live there, how worried are they? What are they worried about? What are their concerns?
It's in different degrees. You go into the grocery store and you see people with gloves and masks who are just residents, and this has been going on for a while. But then you see other people who, Starbucks is closed, so they formed their own Starbucks at the downtown square, where you have 6 or 7 people sitting around drinking coffee and reading books. And it's just this night and day of how people are adapting to it. You have the people who are really taking it seriously, but then you have a lot of people who, even as of today, are not taking it that seriously.
And just in the moments we have left, what are the local medical facilities like if they had to handle a surge in numbers?
Well, I've talked to
Hello, my friends at the hospital. This is hurricane country, so we are so used to preparing for the coming storm, and I think that's where we are right now. The hospitals, they've put up tents outside, they've done a lot of preparation in advance for this, and now we're waiting for that big storm to hit and see that we pray that it passes us by, but you never know. And so that's the state of readiness right now in Florida.
That is Nada Minton, editor of Village News, talking to us there about the Villages just northwest of Orlando. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
You're listening to All Things Considered from NPR News. President Trump's re-election campaign was supposed to be built around a strong economy. Then the coronavirus hit. Millions lost their jobs as measures to contain the virus forced businesses to shutter. NPR White House correspondent Tara Keaton has this look at how the Trump campaign is adapting to this new reality. It was only a month ago when President Trump held his last campaign rally before coronavirus changed everything. The crush of humanity, cheering and chanting, have been replaced with this.
Hey everybody, welcome to our very first Women for Trump live digital broadcast. We're so excited to have you join us. This is a first for us.
Trump's daughter-in-law, Laura Trump, moderated a streaming video conversation with campaign spokeswoman Kayleigh McEnany and National Political Director Chris Carr. It included tips for surviving life stuck at home, a dash of media bashing, and a lot of praise for President Trump's response to the coronavirus pandemic, like this from McEnany.
I've seen the president change lives, and right now, the president is saving lives across this country. This could have been so much worse.
But there were also glitches, video buffering, audio problems.
Kayleigh, what would this country look like maybe if Joe Biden and the Democrats had been at the helm? Oh, did we lose Kayleigh? Chris, are you still there?
Yes, ma'am. I'm here.
Okay. Well, Chris, what are your thoughts on that?
On various platforms, about 1 million people have now watched that video, which also included instructions on how to volunteer for the campaign from home. Just as President Trump was announcing the initial 15 days to slow the spread, his campaign, along with the Republican Party, was supposed to be launching a national week of in-person volunteer training events that suddenly had to go virtual.
We weren't sure how it was going to go.
Elliot Eccles is the national field director for the Trump Victory campaign. The training sessions moved from living rooms and field offices to Zoom meetings, and all told, volunteers and organizers made more than 3 million phone calls using voter contact apps. Their message was all about the pandemic and the president's response, and directed people to coronavirus.gov. Eccles says this is about building relationships for later, when election day is closer.
Yeah, we switched our campaign over to a virtual campaign in 24 hours, like that. And when we can go back to getting out and being in public spaces and knocking on doors again, we're going to flip that switch again. And the volunteers that were making the calls, they're going to be back on those people's doorsteps, continuing the conversation with them.
Recent polls have shown a small bump in President Trump's approval rating as he holds daily press briefings about the coronavirus. The rallies may be gone for now, but Trump has a more direct line into American homes than ever before. Guy Cecil, chairman of Priorities USA, a Democratic super PAC, says this poses a challenge for the opposition.
The fact that he chooses to use that public to share misinformation and to deceive, I think is the challenge.
Priorities USA is now running this ad in battleground states. Tragically wrong. The political stakes credits him for it not being worse. That narrative is being set now. Tamara Keith, NPR News.
This is All Things Considered from NPR News.
Buyers and sellers of precious metals and silver plate, ferrouscoin.com, and Ward's Nursery and Garden Center, Great Barrington, offering curbside pickup. An army of healthcare workers has heeded New York's call for help, reinforcing hospitals overwhelmed by the coronavirus pandemic. Officials say at least 82,000 people have volunteered for the state's reserve force of medical workers. The group includes retirees, healthcare professionals who can take a break from their regular jobs, and others. Few have made it into the field yet as hospitals and the state vet enlistees and figure out how best to deploy them. The state says hospitals are expected to hire 1,500 recruits by Thursday. prosecutor has been hired to investigate the Holyoke Soldiers Home. Massachusetts Governor Charlie Baker's office announced today that attorney Mark Perlstein has been tapped to conduct an independent investigation into the events that led to the deaths of at least 13 residents of a long-term care facility for veterans during the coronavirus pandemic. Perlstein, who is now in private practice, was with the U.S. Attorney's Office in Boston from 1994 to 2000. And we do expect the White House to hold a briefing on the coronavirus pandemic this evening. We will air that live when it begins. In the forecast, partly cloudy tonight, lows in the low 40s, some morning sun tomorrow, followed by increasing clouds and the chance of showers by the end of the day, especially in eastern New York and New England, highs in the low 50s. For WAMC News, I'm Jim Levulis.
This is All Things Considered from NPR News. I'm Elsa Chang.
And in Mary Louise County, it is Census Day in the U.S. Orders to stay home have dampened what was supposed to be a day of festivities to promote the national health count. The coronavirus is forcing census advocates to come up with creative ways to reach people and get them counted. And here's Hanson Lowell.
Census Day is not a deadline. You have until August 14th, the Census Bureau says, to send in your household response online, over the phone, or by mail. But with the coronavirus raging on,
there will be penalties against them.
The Bureau is using social media videos to try to convince more U.S. residents to get counted on their own and at the address where they usually live and sleep as of April 1st.
To help our communities when they come back together, respond to the 2020 census now.
The more households that do, the Bureau says, the fewer door knockers will have to try to send out during this public health crisis to visit unresponsive homes. In past counts, many of those were disproportionate in communities of color, including in New York City.
In 2020, I'm gonna tell you something, we can't let this happen again.
The rapper Cardi B recently teamed up with the city's census campaign for a new PSA video.
If you want to stand up to the status quo and dividing the law plus the silent us, stop making it confident in the census.
But hearing that kind of message virtually is not the same as hearing it in person, says Me.com. Let's coordinate census outreach for the New York Immigration Coalition.
That makes a huge difference. I like to say that getting people to vote this census is a series of conversations.
And Lynn says community groups are trying to use texting, phone banking, and video conferencing to keep those conversations going. Now, census information identifying individuals can now be released for 72 years. And now that information gets trillions of dollars in federal funding.
It allows you to stand up as a community and say, we matter, we are here. There's going to be so much conveyed in the tweet.
That's why Marco Antonio Lopez, community organizer with La Unión de Pueblo Entero, strapped a bullhorn to the front of his hatchback and recorded on his phone and started driving through the unincorporated colonias on the outskirts of Alta in South Texas, days before the local county ordered all residents to shelter at home.
I would say, like, just a friendly reminder to make sure that you do your census through internet or through the telephone.
I did not want my family because he thought it was a cheese day. But for the most part, it made sense on that episode. And when he laughed, and he's like, oh my God, I'm like, to God.
Lopez says a few other people stopped to ask about what to do with the Census Bureau letters they got in the mail. But these days, Lopez and other organizers are inside, making calls and trying to deal with the curveball the coronavirus has thrown at the count. Hansi Lowell, NPR News.
The city of Wuhan in China captured the world's attention when it became the first city shut down by the coronavirus. For many Americans, this was the first time they had ever heard of the city, but not so for comic artist Laura Gao, because she was born in Wuhan and later emigrated to Texas as a child. Since the outbreak began, Gao has been troubled by the disgust and pity directed at her hometown. So she decided to start a new project. It's a comic called The Wuhan I Know. And in it, Gao shares the history of the city as well as her own personal story.
Thank you.
Laura Gao joins me now from San Francisco. Welcome.
Hello.
You know, I want to go back to before the pandemic, way back when you were just growing up in Texas. I'm curious, what was it like when you first told people there that you were born in Wuhan?
Yeah, I think when I first told people, it was a lot of silence and
few spaces that I would say most people had never heard of it, and kind of wrote this in a comic that it was more foreign than ours to most people. People had only really heard of Beijing or Shanghai, so they just immediately assumed I had been one of those, or they asked if it was near any one of them. People just thought of it as like a strange concept. It's not like when people are like, oh, I'm from France, and immediately everyone's like, oh, that's so cool, you know, I love French food, love the language, and you're met with this warm response. Instead, it's just more of silence, and just like people don't care as much for it and don't try to pass on each other.
Well, what has it been like the past few months watching Wuhan go from kind of obscurity to a place that a lot of people are constantly talking about?
It's been crazy to not only hear so many people finally know about my hometown, but it's also disheartening to know that all they know is the bad parts of it, and the fear and panic that people have around this as like the origin of the virus.
Well, at some point during all of this, you decided to start this project. I'm curious, was there a particular moment during all of this that made you want to create this comic?
My family and I here in the U.S. were actually planning to go fly over to Wuhan for a small trip to see my grandparents. Our trip was originally going to be in late January to see my grandmother. She was turning 80, and that's a huge deal in Chinese culture. And I remember at the time I was just really upset. You know, I had a very strong relationship with my grandmother, and I was upset I wouldn't be able to see her, and it had been a while since we gone back. But you know, now looking back, obviously it was the correct decision. And so I think that was my main inspiration, was that like if I had gone and everything was okay and there wasn't a virus, I would be experiencing the beauty of my family, of the people, the food, the culture, and the city. And that was just such a weird juxtaposition for me. And so I decided, hey, like let me share about the beauty that I look forward to seeing during that trip of my city and my people with everyone else here, and see that will change the narrative for a lot of people.
It's so funny listening to you talk about how people first asked you, where's Wuhan, as opposed to Shanghai or Beijing, as if those are the only two large cities in China. Wuhan is a city of more than 11 million people. It's extremely modern. It's bigger than New York City, London, or Tokyo, and yet there's so much about the city that Americans don't know about. So tell me some of your favorite things about Wuhan.
Wherever I go to Wuhan, my favorite part was just waking up in the morning, running outside to the street where it would be completely lined left and right with all these food stalls of so many different kinds of food.
There's stuff there that I've never tried, like the fast food duck neck.
Yes, yeah, that's such a phenomenon. It's pretty wild. Yeah, I talk about the fast food duck neck, the ramen, which is hot dry noodles, as well as a doki, and I wanted to be able to shine light on a lot of these amazing foods that I've really loved and kept close to my heart.
Has your grandmother seen your comic?
Yeah, I sent her a couple screenshots of it, and I told her a bit about what I wrote about and what it was like. I think for her, she just thought it was really, really touching and sweet, the responses that we've been getting on the comic, and immediately she was like, hey, like, thankfully we're getting better, and I see the rest of the world's also suffering, and I want to send my love to them as well.
Laura Gap is a product manager for Twitter by day and a comic artist by night. Thank you so much for speaking with us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
You're listening to All Things Considered from NPR News.
Support for NPR comes from this station and from the Carnegie Corporation of New York, supporting innovations in education, democratic engagement, and the advancement of international peace and security. More information is available online at carnegie.org. From the Candida Fund, supporting individual dignity and sustainable communities through investments in transformative leaders and ideas. Learn more at KENDEDA.fund.org. And from Zoom. Zoom ties together communication tools into a single platform, including video conferencing, phone calls, and group chat. Zoom has more information online at zoom.com. Zoom,
Be happy.
This is Northeast Public Radio, WAMC FM HD 90.3 Albany, WRUN HD 90.3 Remsen, Utica, WAMK HD 90.9 Kingston, WOSR HD 91.7 Middletown, WCEL HD 91.9 Plattsburgh, WCAN HD 93.3 Canajoharie, WANC HD 103.9 Ticonderoga, WAMQ HD 105.1 Great Barrington, WWES HD 88.9 Mount Kisco, WANC HD 90.1 Stanford, WANR 88.5 Brewster, WAMCAM 1400 Albany.
Support comes from SPAC, dedicated to community art and artists, SPAC.org, and First Light, providing high-speed data, internet, co-location, and voice services to businesses over its own fiber optic network and supported by locally based personnel, firstlight.net. We do expect the White House to hold a briefing on the coronavirus pandemic this evening. We will air that live when it begins. It's 5 o'clock.
As the coronavirus death count climbs, look at why U.S. officials originally underestimated its potential toll.
Today is Wednesday, April 1st, and this is All Things Considered from NPR News.
I'm Elsa Chang.
And I'm Mary Louise Kelly. So far, the federal government's been saying you don't need to wear a mask in public, but that guidance might change.
If you're talking about minimizing the mechanism by which this virus spreads, masking does seem to make sense. The challenge is, do we have enough masks?
Also, as the nation waits for more coronavirus tests, they're hoping one company in Maine can crank out a key component.
It's overwhelming. We are producing over 1 million that particular swab a week.
And why the pandemic seems to have taken different paths in New York and California.
Those stories after the news.
From NPR News in Washington, I'm Jack Smith. About the spread of the coronavirus, NPR's Greg Allen reports with this order, Florida joins more than 30 other states, Washington, D.C., and Puerto Rico, ordering a lockdown that covers more than 85% of the U.S. population. Despite mounting criticism, including some from public health experts, for weeks, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis refused to issue a statewide stay-at-home order, saying Florida is a big state where many counties still have few, if any, cases. A number of cities and counties in Florida did issue orders, including Miami-Dade, Broward, and Palm Beach counties, which have most of the cases. DeSantis says he changed his mind after President Trump ordered a 30-day extension of White House social distancing guidelines.
I think that's a signal from the president that, look, this is what we're going to be fighting for a month. There's not going to be any kind of return to normalcy. That's not going to happen.
DeSantis said he issued the order after discussing it with the president. Greg Allen, NPR News, Miami. Many states are postponing their upcoming primaries, but not Wisconsin. That state is going ahead with its primary as planned for next Tuesday, April 7th, despite the fact that one of the presidential candidates, Bernie Sanders, is calling on the state to delay the election. Here's NPR's Ashley Coleman.
In a statement, Sanders said people should not be forced to put their lives on the line to vote. And so he's urging Wisconsin to delay next Tuesday's vote, extend early voting, and work to move entirely to a vote-by-mail process. Meanwhile, the Democratic governor of Wisconsin, Tony Evers, defended his decision in an interview with NPR.
I have spent regularly encouraging people to vote absentee. This is the largest absentee ballot presidential primary that we do in the history of Wisconsin.
More than 1 million absentee ballots have been requested, but the state still intends to have in-person voting, even though the governor has also issued a stay-at-home order. Wisconsin plans to call in the National Guard to help at polling sites. Asma Khalid, NPR News.
It's the first of the month, and that means for millions of Americans, rent is due for the first time since the coronavirus outbreak. Most states and local governments have stopped evictions to give time for unemployment benefits and federal stimulus to kick in. Or even if April's payments delayed, rent will come due before many industries are up and running again. Jason still lives in Spokane, Washington.
I'm still waiting a determination letter from the unemployment office and from the coworkers I've spoken to at my work. They're in the same position. So I think everyone's just remaining optimistic that the benefits will kick in before a lot of bills pile up.
Nearly 3.3 million people in the U.S. filed unemployment claims the week of March 16th. Stocks plunged further today.
PR stations. Other contributors include Focus Features, presenting
.edu/law for more information. This is Regional News, I'm Jim Labulis. The number of coronavirus deaths in New York has more than doubled in 72 hours to more than 1,900. Governor Andrew Cuomo said today that projections show the outbreak worsening through the month. The governor said he would close New York City playgrounds to slow the spread of the virus, leaving green spaces open. Massachusetts is setting up its first field hospital in anticipation of a surge in COVID-19 patients in the next week or so. Governor Charlie Baker today toured the 250-bed facility under construction in the DCU Center in Worcester and said more may be built in other regions of the state.
Each strategy is going to be based on the existing capacity that exists in each of those places and what people's anticipated requirements in a surge are going to demand. And we're going to do everything we can to make sure that we put in place the capacity that people believe they need.
In an unprecedented move, the UMass Medical School this week graduated 130 new doctors 2 months early and sent them to work on the front lines of the pandemic. Comptroller Kevin Lembo says Connecticut is on track to end the current fiscal year with a $170 million deficit, and he's cautioning the estimate will likely grow over the coming weeks and months. Lembo today released his report to Governor Ned Lamont, his first budget and economic outlook since the COVID-19 pandemic first emerged in the state. Lembo warns the full impact of the virus is unclear and may take weeks or months to determine. Lembo says he's already seeing a drop-off in withholding receipts from the large number of layoffs and furloughs after non-essential businesses closed. In the forecast, partly cloudy tonight, lows in the low 30s. For WANC News, I'm Jim Lavulis.
This is All Things Considered from NPR News. I'm Mary Louise Kelly in Washington.
And I'm Elsa Jane in Culver City, California. Throughout March, we watched as the coronavirus spread across the globe and into all 50 states. Currently, more than half of all states are under stay-at-home orders. Republican Governor Ron DeSantis, who's long resisted the idea, announced today that Florida soon will be too. Georgia quickly followed suit.
As for the states that have not issued orders, Surgeon General Jerome Adams clarified the national guidelines this morning on NBC's Today Show.
My advice to America would be that these guidelines are a national stay-at-home order. They're guidelines that say that, look, the more we social distance, the more we stay at home, the less spread of disease there will be.
And now, with COVID-19 cases nationwide, there are questions about why early estimates about how bad this could be were so off, and the way critical medical supplies are being distributed by the federal government. So let's bring in NPR science correspondent Richard Harris and White House correspondent Franco Ordonez. Hey to both of you.
Hello.
Richard, yesterday at the White House briefing, we heard one of the top scientists admitting that she had initially underestimated the potential damage that the virus could cause. What was the story there?
Well, with U.S. officials now warning that the death count here from the coronavirus could be 100,000 or even much more than that, people are asking whether the government should have acted sooner. That question was put to Coronavirus Task Force Coordinator Dr. Deborah Birx toward the end of a very long briefing yesterday, and she did admit in hindsight that she didn't grasp just how bad this was going to get. Instead, she compared it to a similar virus, SARS, which killed far fewer people.
I think when you look at the China data originally, you start thinking of this more like SARS than you do this kind of global pandemic. I think probably we were missing a significant amount of the data now that when we see what happened to Italy and we see what happened to Spain.
And you notice at the end there that she's deflecting blame, suggesting that she got it wrong because China had hidden data about the disease, and that tripped up scientists in the U.S. government.
Well, let's talk about that. Franco, the president, he's often been asked if he feels China was transparent with the information it was releasing about this virus. President Trump has also emphasized, though, his working relationship with President Xi Jinping. So what is he saying now about that relationship?
Right. We've seen a shift at the White House in the last few days from blaming China for what, in retrospect, appears to be a late start. As you know, the president has been talking about recently about his good relationship with China, and the blame now is more focused on China for not being open enough. Here's Vice President Mike Pence today in an interview with CNN.
I will be very candid with you and say that in mid-January, the CDC was still assessing that the risk of the coronavirus to the American people
Now, Pence is a China hawk, and there are a whole bunch of geopolitical issues wrapped up all in this. And both he and President Trump have pointed again and again to the decision to stop travel from China as having prevented the situation in the U.S. from being much, much worse.
Well, is that a fair characterization? Richard, is there evidence that health officials in the U.S. were just caught flat-footed because China withheld vital information?
Well, scientists outside the U.S. government knew enough to be alarmed by this from very early on in the year. Michael Osterholm, who runs the Center for Infectious Disease Research and Policy at the University of Minnesota, was one of those early voices. I asked him whether he thought the U.S. officials had a point when they suggest that they were blindsided by China.
We had access to the same public information that they had, and we were getting tremendous amounts of information out of China, indicating just the extent to which transmission was occurring. We had more than adequate data when we declared on January 20th that this was going to be a global pandemic.
We being his research center. That was one day before the CDC reported the very first U.S. case. Now, Osterholm's group is not alone in having raised the alarm early. The World Health Organization declared this an international emergency at the end of January. Osterholm says China could be doing more now to share data for sure, but the government of China shared more than enough to show early on that it was going to be a dangerous epidemic.
Interesting. Well, we heard Dr. Brooks compare the coronavirus to SARS, and that virus, it hit mostly in 2003, but it only ended up causing, fewer than 800 deaths worldwide? So, if you thought this was just going to be a repeat of SARS, maybe that would be understandable, but what makes this virus so much worse than SARS?
Well, one factor is that some people spread this disease before they themselves get symptoms, and that makes it really hard to track. A new study today from Singapore shows that some people could be spreading the virus for 1 to 3 days before they get symptoms. And also today, a top scientist at the World Health Organization said that silent transmission is a really big factor driving this epidemic. But also points to the biology. It turns out that infected people can produce 1,000 times more virus than was the case for SARS, so that could also be fueling the spread. Yeah, it's a big deal.
And Franco, there's been a lot of anxiety, obviously, from hospitals and state governments about not getting the supplies they need right Friday.
All I want them to do, very simple, I want them to be
updates and is really trying to square reports from the ground. Democrats or Republicans are being blind because officials did not have enough tests. And the president supplies to more recently saying, hey, call FEMA, don't get into a bidding war. And President Trump's political rhetoric, particularly against Democratic governors in Washington State and Michigan, has also noted this as well. I think we did see a course correction last night, but we're going to continue to see this back and forth. That is NPR White House correspondent Franco Ordonez and Fox correspondent Richard Harris. Thanks to both of you. Thank you. Should we all be wearing masks when we go out in public during this coronavirus pandemic? Some public health experts say yes. The CDC guidance is that only people who are sick or caring for the sick should wear masks. Earlier this week, Robert Whitfield, the director of the CDC, told NPR that that policy is under review. And here's some other reports. A few months ago, it may have looked silly to wear a face mask to the grocery store, but no longer. Former FDA Commissioner Scott Gottlieb says if everyone wore a face mask when they go out, it could help slow the spread.
Masks have long been demonstrated and helpful in the setting of infectious disease.
He says face masks are used widely by members of the public in some places they're thought to have successfully managed their outbreaks, including South Korea and Hong Kong. Of course, it is important to keep up the social distancing, hand washing, and sanitizing surfaces. Gottlieb says that's a mistake by not promoting the wider use of masks for the public. And the Trump administration says it is reviewing the current policy. He is the medical director for the emergency department at UCSF. He says there are good arguments to be made to broaden the use of masks.
It absolutely makes sense. If you really are talking about minimizing the mechanism by which this virus spreads, masking does seem to make sense. The challenge is, do we have enough masks?
There's no question that supplies are limited, and there are many reports of shortages. So people have started making their own masks. And tonight, when President Trump was asked about the mask policy,
He said people could consider using a scarf to cover their faces.
I mean, most people have scarves, and scarves are very good. They can use a scarf. And we're only talking about a limited period of time.
It's not clear how much protection a scarf may offer. Scott Gottlieb says he agrees that medical masks are needed in hospitals and healthcare settings.
So you really don't want to pull any kind of medical masks out of the system. But as an alternative, CDC can issue guidelines on advising people on how to construct their own cotton masks. Those cotton masks should provide a reasonable degree of protection from people being able to transmit the virus.
Deborah Birx of the White House Coronavirus Task Force says they are reviewing the mask policy. Alison Albury, NPR News. Whether to order takeout used to be an easy question to answer. Not enough food in fridge? Get takeout.
Don't feel like cooking? Get takeout.
Running short on time? Takeout.
Now, the question has become complicated. In most states, restaurants have been ordered to shut their doors to dine-in customers to stop the spread of the coronavirus, which leaves takeout. But is ordering it safe? So, according to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the answer is generally yes. There is currently no evidence that the virus can be transmitted by food.
It's spread by respiratory droplets, so the biggest risk of getting takeout is the contact you might have with other people. So, many restaurants are taking extra precautions, such as no contact pickup and delivery, which protects both you and the delivery worker.
And once you have your food, you will want to throw away any packaging that it comes in. According to the CDC, it is possible you can get sick from touching a surface that has the virus on it.
Once you're done, wash your hands thoroughly, and bon appetit.
It's All Things Considered from NPR News.
Support comes from Gomez Neurology Albany, a neurology clinic and infusion center providing care for neuromuscular disorders and headaches, multiple sclerosis, and chronic pain. Patients see a physician at every visit. GomezNeurology.com. This is WANC Regional News. I'm Jimmy Lagulis. Albany Medical Center says 14 patients who have confirmed or suspected cases of COVID-19 have been transferred to the hospital from facilities downstate. Albany Med says the decision was approved by its executive leadership team. The hospital says the patient.
Well, 3 days, 2 days, how big a difference is that? When the left and center lanes block, those 2 left lanes are blocked as you get to the apartments with ongoing construction work. That's going to be running at least until 9 o'clock tonight, so at least a 30-minute delay from 8095. It is better from the other approaches, and if you can use the lower level, that will be better for you. I'm Tom Kinsky, the WCBS Traffic Center.
Okay, so some Sunday forecast now. Over to the Weather Center, I'm Craig Allen.
Okay, Linda, we have, we still have sunshine around the city, but clouds are moving in across New Jersey towards the city. Then we also have a lot of clouds out over the ocean. They have made their way towards eastern Long Island and are now moving back west, and that's going to close in on us. So unfortunately, tomorrow will not be as nice as today, becoming partly cloudy tonight near 40, 30s in the suburbs. And I'd have to go with mostly cloudy tomorrow with a gusty wind as that storm develops out over the ocean, 50 to 55. Now, there's no direct effect, but I was mentioning this back earlier in the week that we have to watch that ocean storm, and it definitely looks like it's going to send some rain westward across Long Island and Connecticut for sure, and now it looks like it'll get into parts of New York as the city and into New Jersey and parts of the Hudson Valley as well. Not a direct effect, though, fortunately. 40 to 45 Thursday night, and Friday we'll get some clearing later in the day as the storm finally turns around, heads out to sea about 55. Stay connected with the Altice 5-day forecast, which is a mix of sunny clouds for the weekend and highs in the middle 50s. Right now for the city, 54, humidity 31%.
Thanks, Craig. WCBS News Time. It's 5:20. Well, the fight against COVID-19 is never ending on the front lines. CBS News correspondent David Begnaud spoke with Dr. Scott Stamlin, an ER doctor at Mount Sinai Hospital on Chicago's West Side.
I deal with gunshot every day and trauma and crazy stuff, and this is the only thing that scares me. How many patients do you see on a daily basis that are suspected of being COVID positive? Over 70, 60 to 70% every day. We keep hearing that young people are not as affected by this. Has that been your experience? You can tell that the 27-year-old I heard the data last week with no medical problems.
Dr. Samlin says anyone arriving at the emergency room now who has respiratory problems is being treated as if they're positive for COVID, because doctors can't afford to wait the 3 days that it's been taking to get the results back.
So we need to Dr. Breathe me. Okay, so white count is normal, and their lymphopenic, which is something we look at, and their x-ray looks like COVID, and their influenza negative, it's COVID.
Protective gear is scarce here, Dr. Samlin says, especially masks.
When you use them for a shift, we put in my brown paper bag.
This COVID patient who's coming in right now, the suspected COVID, he's coming by ambulance, I assume. How critical is he?
They're doing CPR.
Students are dying alone, which is really sad.
And that is because suspected COVID patients need to be isolated, says Dr. Chris Scadeller, who's using a respirator that he got from his previous job and a filter that his father, who works in construction, gave him. How you doing?
Frustrated. There was the CDC said we could use bandanas as a form of protection for ourselves instead of masks, so I got one. I carry in my pocket. It's frustrating. It feels like the government let us down.
How you doing?
Thank you for asking. I'm not well. It's not on that show. I'm unable to stay home. This is a real deal.
Are they still performing CPR?
No, they're dead.
CBS correspondent David Begnaud having some crucial conversations with some Chicago doctors. WCBS News Time 522. A Florida landlord is helping small businesses weather the coronavirus storm. CBS's Peter King has that story.
Paul Weintraub says he opened his antiques business just a month ago in downtown DeLand, northeast of Orlando. He says the pandemic has killed almost all of his business. This landlord may have just saved it by dropping his rent to $1.06 for the entire month. His normal rent, $1,500 a month. The building is owned by a trustee who did the same for 6 other tenants. And had he not, I probably would have lost the business aside.
In his backyard. Stuck at home, James Campbell spent his 32nd birthday running from one end of his yard to the other. He did it in 6-meter increments. Campbell promised to do the marathon if a Twitter message he sent last week received 10,000 retweets. His backyard marathon was live streamed, and his neighbors were yelling encouragement over the fences. It took him just over 5 hours. He raised more than $22,000 for Britain's National Health Service. WCBS News Time is 5:24.
Once upon a time, the best coffee came in steel cans. When was that? This morning. Chock full of nuts coffee, made with premium beans roasted to heavenly perfection and then protected inside infinitely recyclable steel. Chock full of nuts coffee. Get New York roasted. How good are we in the morning? Your mom full of nuts coffee is premium beans roasted to heavenly perfection since before you were born. And before your mom was born. Chock full of nuts coffee. Get New York roasted.
WCBS News Time, 5:25. It's time for Money News now. Let's head over to Bloomberg's Tracy Junkie. Linda, the first quarter was the Dow's worst since 1987. The second quarter isn't looking very good so far either. The Dow dropped 974 points to 20,944. The Nasdaq is down 340 points. It's 73.61. The S&P is down 114. And the New York stocks of the Bloomberg WCBS Land Rover Tri-State Business Index dropped almost 6%. The rest of the averages down about 4.5%. ADP says March employment fell by 27,000 in March. ADP says reports and the one coming Friday from the Labor Department are way off the mark. They both collected the data in the first half of the month. The second half is when we saw the record 3.3 million jobless claims in a single week. A more timely read of the economic impact of COVID-19 comes from the nation's factories. Orders and employment dropped at the quickest pace in 11 years. The Institute for Supply Management asked factories to respond to its month-long survey as late as possible. With Money News at 25 and 55 on WCBS, I'm Bloomberg's Tracy Jonke.
New Yorkers, stay home. By staying home, you are doing your part to slow the spread of coronavirus. Together, we can protect the most vulnerable and our healthcare workers. When you go out for essential needs, don't forget to keep your distance between yourself and others. Wash your hands well and often. Cover your nose and mouth when you sneeze or cough. For the latest information, text COVID to 692-692 or visit nyc.gov/coronavirus.
You're a small business owner, and there's nothing small about what you do. That's why Dell Small Business Technology Advisors give you trusted advice, one-on-one partnership, and tailored tech solutions, like computers with Intel Core processors, servers, storage, networking, plus thousands of top-brand electronics, accessories, and software. No matter your technology needs, Dell is here to help your small business do big things. Call 877-BUY-DELL to speak with an advisor today. That's 877-BUY-DELL.
Hi, I'm Jay Farner, CEO of Quicken Loans and Rocket Mortgage. During these challenging times, our commitment to providing you with the best mortgage experience remains. We understand that hardships may arise, and we're prepared to help. Mortgage rates remain near historic lows. If you think that now is the right time to refinance your mortgage, our home loan experts are available to help 24 hours a day, 7 days a week at rocketmortgage.com.
Call for cost information and conditions. Equal housing lender. Licensed in all 50 states. NMLSConsumerAccess.org. Number 3030.
Working on a renovation. When you need to know the latest news. The number of beds we had at the beginning of March.
We don't have the tools we need in the emergency department.
Together, we will get through it.
WCBS News Time, it's 5:28. It's time for traffic and weather together on the 8th. And we head first to Tom Kaminsky.
All right, Linda, we go back over to the inbound GWB. That construction work on the upper level, it is the two left lanes actually are blocked, and that's going to be until about 9 o'clock tonight. It runs right across the upper level under the apartments, so we've got at least a 20-minute delay from 8095. Now, if you can use 446 to the lower level, that would be a little bit better for you. Again, it's easy pass only at all of the Hudson River crossings. The outbound side, the east side and the west side, no problems there. Cross Bronx westbound also looks good. No construction on the outbound GWB tonight. Lincoln and Holland also look to be in good shape. We go through Queens on the LIE and the Grand Central. Really no volume there in the LIE and Northern and Southern State Parkways. Right on out toward 110 are in good shape. The Connecticut Turnpike, Merritt Parkway, not seeing any kind of delays there either. And we go to the to New Jersey, Garden State Parkway, New Jersey Turnpike. No big delays at this point. Did have an earlier collision on the northbound side of Route 21 right around the Clay Street Bridge in Newark, but that is now cleared. Here comes Craig with the forecast.
Right now we're watching some clouds from the west, clouds to the east. A developing storm over the Atlantic is going to make for some interesting times out over the water. Fortunately, it will stay far enough away so that we don't have any true stormy conditions, but we will see coastal winds increase. We will get some rain along the coast as well during Thursday night and Friday during this storm's closest approach. It's actually going to loop out there in the Atlantic, and its closest approach during that loop will be during Thursday night and into Friday morning. So tonight's low about 40, 30s in the suburbs. Tomorrow, clouds taking over and a gusty wind picking up, high 50 to 55. Thursday night, some rain and drizzle, especially for the eastern suburbs. May make it into the city. Western suburbs, you could pick up a few raindrops, but I think you'll still be far enough away. 40 to 45, and then Friday clouds and a chance of spotty showers, followed by some sun in the afternoon. The whole storm turns around and finally gets out at about 55 degrees. Right now in the city, 54, humidity 31%.
More than just the headlines. This is WCBS News Radio 880. There are now more than 83,000 cases of coronavirus in New York State. More than 47,000 of those are in the city. All playgrounds in the city will now be closed to help enforce social distancing. New Jersey now has more than 22,000 cases. 355 people there have died. And right now in Manhattan, we've got sunny skies. It's 54 degrees. Continues to soar. In the last 24 hours, nearly 400 people have succumbed to COVID-19. At an afternoon briefing that WCBS reporter Peter Haskell was following. And Peter joins us now. Peter, what else do you...
For the kids, the governor said frankly there are too many people gathering too closely at playgrounds. He also, the message to the NYC...
Increases in these numbers that we...
You keep hearing about social distancing, and the governor says it really does make a difference. Look at computer models every day about when they expect the peak of patients and what our hospitals can handle. The fact is, according to what the governor said, the numbers show that the peak projection for hospital beds would be significantly lower if people practice social distancing. So he is pushing for that. He says if there's no distancing, there will be a greater crisis than there is now. Hospitals are already in the position. What they're doing is they're planning to divert and transfer patients if they need to.
I think today in the press conference, he painted a pretty bleak picture today.
It is a big picture. One computer projection has 15,000 deaths in New York alone. And based on that modeling, these deaths will continue into July. So even though the peak of cases is expected to be in this month, this could go into the summer.
It's really sobering news. WCBS's Peter Haskell joining us. Peter, thanks so much. New Jersey remains the second hardest hit state in the country. Governor Murphy says overnight they got back 3,600 positive cases of COVID-19, and in all, 355 people have lost their lives to this virus. Our WCBS reporter Kevin Rincon joins us now on the newsline. Now, what's the big concern there in New Jersey? We continue to see this rise in cases.
Limited supplies, not just personal protective equipment, but ventilators. We're seeing certain counties, namely Bergen County, get overwhelmed with patients. The state health commissioner said last night 7 hospitals diverted people elsewhere in Bergen, in part because they didn't have enough room. One hospital, for instance, had over 80 people waiting in the ER last night alone. Now, the other concern, long-term care facilities. More and more of those sites are reporting positive cases of.
Just like New York State, the numbers there are increasing so dramatically, and the numbers are
2 big ways that the federal government is helping. Governor Murphy's the hospitals with the most need. The other big one at the Meadowlands Expo Center. That one is set to officially open on Friday. The governor said he'll be there tomorrow to do a walkthrough with the Army Corps of Engineers. And of course, the state would love to see more federal help in terms of dollars, given the amount of money New Jersey is likely set to lose in terms of revenue.
And we're going to interrupt Kevin to take you over to the White House. The White House Coronavirus Task Force is beginning its press conference.
The virus is horrible, horrible virus.
I think John Franco brokered it, to be honest with you. So I remember all of that with him. But Jason Taylor was tough, but Jason Taylor had a big moment in a big win in Pittsburgh in 2010.
Jason Taylor ended up being a legit. He was fine. He did nothing wrong, but in the moment, it was very different.
Very off. You know what? Those are two great examples. Glavin and Jason Taylor. I agree.
The third one for me it's not you, it's Paul Pierce. That one was a little bit
off. Paul Pierce. I mean, I destroyed them. I got no great love for Paul Pierce.
Right, he's on my team, but I guess I was just hopeful that him and Garnett, I never had an issue with Garnett, never had a problem with KG, there was no issue. In fact, I always said this at the time, I wanted KG, never really wanted Paul Pierce. Like, to me, it was, I thought that their fight and heart was important and would help the Nets in that moment, and it did. They won a round, it just wasn't worth the price of it.
Right.
Taylor and Glavin, though, it was tough. But to our last caller's point, I never didn't root for my team because of it. No. Not even close.
There's no way. I tell you, I would, like I said, I didn't love viewing, and like I said, it was a big, the whole persona of Georgetown and John Thompson. That's how he wanted Patrick to be. You go back to that, you saw it, the Carolina championship game, and I said it to you. He goaltended like their first 5 baskets.
Yeah.
And Thompson basically told him to do that.
Yeah, 10 of the first 17 points came from Patrick getting goaltending.
Right, and it was Thompson basically said this is what he wanted them to do to intimidate North Carolina.
Yep.
So, but when Ewing got to, Ewing was good, when they won the lottery that day, are you kidding me? I was salivating over Patrick.
Yeah, I mean, look, at the end of the day, if Tom Brady came to the Jets, as difficult as it would be, you're still rooting for the Jets.
If Jordan had wound up with the Knicks, am I not going to root on as much? That would really have bothered me.
Right.
But of course I'm going to root for my team.
Yeah, no question. Richard's in Manhattan. What's up, Richard?
Richard, how are you?
You know, you talk about Viagra. A lot of guys come to the Mets can't hit at Shea Stadium. Rush ballpark to that, don't forget.
Yeah, but he lost it.
Bobby Mercer, that.
Right, sure. I mean, outside of Piazza and...
But you know, Richard, no. Viagra lost it. It doesn't matter if they were playing it anyway.
The same guy.
Shea Stadium was a hard-hitter's ballpark, so a 285-hitter elsewhere coming to Shea Stadium, it took time to get good. All right, you mentioned Tommy Lasorda. And just think of this now. You got to think this out. This was a guy who was a lieutenant to a Hall of Fame manager, and I'm talking about Walter Elston, 20 years. And then he became manager and was almost as iconic as the man he replaced. Now, go to the four major sports, and even in college, let's say you say John Wooden, Al McGuire, Ray Meyer, Dean Smith, they were replaced by lieutenants. And all of their lieutenants stunk. The only guy that I can think of, maybe you guys can come up with some.
Owen Howard.
Let me say one thing.
Howard was not his lieutenant. But certainly nobody on the... Now, you got to be a lieutenant. That's what I was going to say. I mean, I think Lasorda was a Hall of Fame manager after that.
Twice. So just... You know, the whole night, I never liked...
I'm great, guys. How you doing?
Good, Chris.
Moment in Memphis. In Trimmer, yes, exactly. One of the great April Fools.
He didn't? I don't think so.
Yeah. The way we can now, you just go to Baseball Reference, you have everything. I'm checking Baseball Weekly, and I'm almost stunned that Carlos Baerga's hitting 255 after I hear Francesa describing him as a hitting machine, which he was. I brought in Keith Folk. Remember Keith Folk did a great job in 04?
He did.
Folk struggled in 03, I think, in the playoffs. His great run, and it was great for the Sox. And
the best thing, you know, my favorite all-time Mike and Dog deal that I tell you, they turned out to be so completely wrong about.
Yeah, by the way, that thing they're wrong about made the bracket. Just want to point that out.
Oh, did you? Oh, that should, and let me tell you, that should be up there, whatever it was. And I'm driving into the Garden for the draft, and of course I got Mike and Chris on. Of course I did. And I'm listening to this and I'm like, they're going on, okay, Dog, this is a great trade. But hey, so, McDice, Antonio McDice for basically Marcus Camby and what turned out to be Nene, you know?
Yes.
100% right.
Yes, you did.
Marcus Camby was a good player for the Knicks. He was real good. Goes up, and he gets hurt like in a preseason game, and that was basically it. One of the worst trades the Knicks ever made, maybe the worst. I mean, it's definitely right up there. I mean, I'm sure, I'm sure he can come up with a couple other ones.
Yes.
Get rid of Bernard King.
Yes.
But I mean, oh my God.
Yes.
That was to me, that's the worst. That is the biggest mistake of the Mike and Chris when they, McDice, and he's great, and he's this, and I'm like, I'm vomiting as I'm on the heel end of the Lincoln Tunnel driving to the Garden.
And that is why the Antonio McDice trade has to be in the Benigno bracket of pain, which will be released in 17 minutes on FAN.com and of course
for Antonio McDice. Thanks, hey Mike. Thanks a lot.
Hey, for those listening,
Mike's listening, which of course he's not. He's doing his podcast now. Well, actually, I think he's talking to Fauci, right?
Yeah, you're right. Instead of
Isn't Mike talking to Fauci and Burks about, what's going on?
Maybe so.
I mean, he always thought with this over to Mnuchin, because he's with Mnuchin figuring out how we're going to rebound in the economy after it's all over.
Here's what we need to do here. Over here, we raise the interest rate over here. Okay, we got this. We do that. By the way, I am now second-guessing myself on where I seeded the Antonio McDice trade. I'm wondering if maybe it should be higher, but you know what? It doesn't matter. It's up there, but we'll find out. We'll find out when you get to decide who advances in the Benigno bracket.
I can't wait to see what that trade is up against. I mean, that's kind of interesting too. You know what?
That's the fun part about this. There's a lot of weird matchups.
Right. I'm sure there is.
Benigno Roberts coming right back.
Hey, New Jersey, want more funding for public schools? Find out how
Department of Health and Social Services.
Fill out your 2020 census. Federal funding for our communities is determined by census results. If we're not all counted, we could miss out. So, better roads and bridges. Fill it out.
Better jobs?
Fill it out. Fair representation in Congress. Fill it out. New Jersey Census 2020. There's strength in numbers. Learn more at census.nj.gov. During this unprecedented health crisis in support of our community and its essential workers, Nielsen Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram service and parts operation will remain open daily from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., but will be closed on weekends. Online scheduling and more info can be found at nielsendodge.com. Their thoughts and prayers are those that have been affected by this disease. From everyone at Nielsen Dodge, they ask you to be safe, stay healthy, and look out for each other.
Hello, you know my voice, don't you? Well, just this once, let me tell you something without you asking me first. Now you can complete the census online. Just go to 2020census.gov. The census cannot share your response. More importantly, you can start here at 2020census.gov. Paid for by U.S. Census Bureau. CVS Pharmacy delivers. And right now, to meet the needs of the current health situation, we're offering 1 to 2 day delivery for free. Get prescriptions and other everyday essentials like vitamins, allergy relief, snacks, and more from your local CVS. We understand your concern, and this is just one of the ways we can help you to be prepared and stay well. Visit cvs.com or call your local CVS pharmacy to get started. Restrictions apply. Offer valid on orders with a prescription.
For all station contest rules, go to wfan.com/rules. Barber with a Radio.com Sports Minute sponsored by Napa Auto Parts. With quality parts and know-how, Napa Auto Parts and Auto Care Centers can help keep your car on the road. Professional tennis's third Grand Slam of the year, Wimbledon, was just canceled over fears of the coronavirus pandemic. But what makes this one so alarming is that Wimbledon is almost 3 months away. Basketball and hockey, the NCAA tournaments, and all the other spring activities that have been postponed or canceled make sense. But now we're talking about this perpetual Groundhog Day reaching into the summer. Missing sports is one thing, but sports are also an excuse to engage with our friends, to place bets, or surprise us. But in actuality, I think what we're really missing is our friends, and having that common passion to talk about on football. Cares to keep their ride in good condition, because while there are 6,000 Napa Auto Parts stores for folks who can change a headlamp blindfolded, there are also over 17,000 Napa Auto Care Centers for folks who'd rather trust a pro than pop-it themselves. So whatever your skill level, Napa's got you covered. Do it yourself or have it done for you. That's Napa Know-How.
Want to hear something amazing? Discover matches all the cash back you earn on your credit card at the end of your first year, automatically, dollar for dollar, with no limit on how much you can earn. Extra cash? Come on, how amazing is that? In fact, it's even more amazing when you realize all the places where Discover is accepted. 99% of places in the U.S. that take credit cards. So when it comes to Discover,
to all first responders, person.
To send a shout out and say thank you to all the people in Memorial Sloan Kettering, especially to Lisa, who is my dear friend.
FM and Sports Radio 66, WFAN, and WFAN-FM New York, our Radio.com sports station. 5-Hour Energy is energy on the go. But what if you're not going anywhere for a while? Then 5-Hour Energy is energy for getting stuff done while you're stuck at home. Like doing an honest day's work for your boss. Getting rid of old clothes. Old bubbles. Scouring the grout in your shower. Working out on that old stationary bike. And so much more. Go to the store or order online at shop5hourenergy.com. 5-Hour Energy. Energy for hunkering down.
An important message from Hackensack Meridian Health to New Jersey residents. If you suspect you've been exposed to coronavirus or are experiencing flu-like symptoms, you can now have a video visit with a board-certified physician without leaving home, reducing further exposure to illness. Visit convenientcarenow.com. Just $20 for New Jersey residents with code HMH20. Free for New Jersey residents 65 and older with code HMH-FREE. Hackensack Meridian Health.
From the
St. Edward's Traffic Center, I'm Greg Rice with a SupplyHouse.com fan highway patrol. Inbound upper level of the George Washington Bridge. We are still looking at construction knocking out the left lane coming across the span, and then the two left lanes underneath the apartments. It's a 45-minute stack up over at the George on the upper level, where there is nothing holding you up on that inbound lower level at this hour. Lincoln Tunnel and Holland Tunnel, no more than 10 minutes either way. Alternate side suspended in the city through at least Friday, April 17th. Earliest you'd have to move the car anywhere in the 5 boroughs. That is Saturday, April 18th. The subway is the vastly reduced service. They call it a central service. That means no B, C, W, or Z trains, and overall just vastly fewer subway trains running on any line. I'm Greg Rice with a SupplyHouse.com fan highway patrol.
Big on Roberts tomorrow. Keith Hernandez will join us. From Edwards will join us. We'll get to we'll have fun. We'll talk about Game 5 of the 96 World Series. We didn't get to it today. There was a lot going on with Jeff Kent and Nick Swisher, but really a cool game to rewatch if you're a baseball fan. The 1-0 classic between John Smoltz and Andy Pettitte. So we'll talk about that a little bit tomorrow. Right now, let's go to Wilson in Brooklyn.
Wilson, how are you doing, fellas? Good. I'll tell you what, those last two interviews, John Smoltz back and another executive. Unbelievable. Okay? And the gentleman that used to hold this spot, I won't even say his name, we couldn't have heard that interview because he would have been interrupting the whole time. Okay? The whole time.
Well, we appreciate the compliment.
I'm not knocking nobody, but I'm just saying,
I mean, you can't see it knocked off, but by the way,
I mean, I said, what I'm saying, from my experience, I've been listening a long time. No, it's Laurie. He did his job, honestly, so much. And to get to this, I was the one that brought up prop betting. Man, money doesn't matter. But I'm telling you this right now. There's things with the brackets, and we can use this for guys that have money and people want to do something that's good. People doing it. Doesn't matter, a dollar or whatever it is. It's not good. I'm a big fish out there.
I thought definitely to help, because right now as a country there's a lot of people that can use the help. So we're trying to figure out how we can do that, that's for sure, but certainly.
You know, we're fortunate, you and I, bro. We have jobs, thank God. At least right now. We have jobs. I mean, and unfortunately there's a lot of people out there through no fault of their own that don't have a job. So, you know, it's very tough times for a lot of people, so you and I are very lucky, so, you know, maybe you have something we can do with this crazy bracket.
Absolutely, would love to. Let's go to Bob in Norwalk. Hey,
Bob, how are you? Hey, man. How you doing? Good. What's up? Hey, I did this day earlier call on 6-inch. I had called earlier the switchboard operator. I wanted to believe me, so he hung up. The reason that Hopes was so successful, you guys, was a Sports Illustrated cover story. Yes. They came out on April 1st, 1985. The Nets were behind. They gave, James Bergman, uniform number 21. They gave him a locker between George Forster and Alan Strawberry, and they provided photos of 6 inch talking to Mel Stella, the video coach. Now, oddly enough, they also had a batting rack at the stage where the options with batting case that was covered in top. And the Mets players were coming out and shaking their heads because that was going 168 miles an hour. The next day, before that, they told sports writers from New York, the beat writers called the Mets PR department, and they were upset that they didn't get a heads up on this guy. So they gave the story to Sports Illustrated. The next day, Vince retired, and April 2nd, their press conference with all the major news networks. And it wasn't until April 16th that Sports Illustrated admitted the whole business hoax. So there was a day, it was 2 weeks later.
What I wonder about, when you say we're aware of it, is it's a different world. Like, we don't have, WFAN, you don't have
Sports Illustrated was the Bible for me back then. I had subscribed to Sports Illustrated since the 60s, you know?
But think about it, SI's once a week. So, something comes out, it's not like it's developing over the hours or days.
That's true.
So I think it's just easier to pull something like that off when it was happening that long ago, where there isn't social media, there isn't sports talk radio. I just have a tough time believing that can be pulled off again.
Yeah, probably.
Lenny in Fort Lauderdale.
Lenny, how are you?
I got 2 quick ones for you. How'd you do with stuff for us in college? Never said I'm forest, but when you came up, first 2 preseason
the biggest party. Love, and just people are dying from AIDS. And you got into the building.
I don't want to look at it. I know that deal, and that is, we don't need to get into all of that. Bro, have a great rest of your day. All right? You too, man. Be well. You and the family, all of everybody there. I want to thank all the callers. Great job as always. Connecting without you. I want to thank Nick Swisher. I want to thank Jeff Ted. Terrific job by Pete Hoffman. Terrific job by Bernie Acosta. Big Mike's coming up. He made it in time from Washington. God bless him. Everybody, don't forget to listen to Luis Castillo. Drop that pop-up tonight. Starting at 7 o'clock. You don't want to miss that. Right here on the station. God bless that. Everybody, God bless America. We'll talk to you tomorrow at 2.
Okay, you know how it feels when you've saved enough for that long-awaited home edition? Now imagine an addition on that addition. That's the feeling with Capital One, where a new savings account earns an interest rate 5 times the national average. That's right, 5 times, as represented by 5 times more singers. This is banking reimagined. Capital One, what's in your wallet? Terms apply. Rate comparison based on FDIC national rate. Capital One NA member FDIC.
I was 16, a budding athlete. Father Mike took notice. He said, let's start a youth group, handed me a beer, complimented my physique, and told me I was a leader. But he pretended to be concerned about my health and needed to examine me. In 1980, nobody spoke of these situations. Today, that's not the case. I'm attorney Paul Barr. New laws in New York and New Jersey extend the time period survivors of childhood sexual abuse can seek justice, but that window is short for some. Predators hide behind big religious organizations, and Phillips and Pellicelli is ready to hold them accountable. The clergy, school districts, hospitals. Were you abused? Now is the time to file a lawsuit, regardless of the time elapsed. I was a victim. I know what it's like. A lawyer at Phillips and Pellicelli will take your call between 8 a.m. and midnight every day. 1-877-8-ABUSED. That's 1-877-8-ABUSED. 1-877-8-ABUSED. It's time for justice.
If you're a small business owner, it's always important to maximize your business banking game plan. So look no further than Investors Bank for all your business banking needs. Act now and open a new Your Style business checking account, and you can get their special business money market maximizer rate. Stop in, call, or visit Investors Bank online and learn how Investors Bank can be your partner and develop customized banking solutions to help your business grow. Certain limitations apply. See website for details. Investors Bank, member FDIC. As soon as we're back out in our yard, yep, we get company.
Dandelions, lurking crabgrass, and wheat-thin grass. But Scout's Turf Builder Triple Action takes care of them all. Now, with one bag, you can kill weeds, prevent crabgrass for up to 4 months, and feed for greener grass. Triple Action, so your lawn thrives, guaranteed. Only from Scott's.
Weeds aren't welcome here.
This is a Scott's Yard. Pick up a bag of Scott's Triple Action today.
Spilled your pina colada? Quick, the quicker picker-upper. Bounty picks up spills and messes quicker. And is 2 times more absorbent than the leading ordinary brand. So you can get back to getting caught in the rain. Bounty, the